Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Good evening, Trisha. Good evening, Mike Brazo. Eric is in the house. How you doing? Corey San is here. How you doing, Corey? Sarah, I think you were there as well. Let's see up at the top. Yes, you were there. Sally's here. Douglas, all the way up at Nunavut. How you doing, my man? Good to see you. Joe Moore was the first one to climb on this evening. We are having all kinds of storms, so if for whatever reason the internet starts to peter out, that's why. As I said, hopefully everybody is safe, dry, and wherever you are, enjoying yourselves, because it is a wonderful night, regardless of all the rain. There's just passing showers here in Ontario, but I wanted to start by saying hello. Hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? We have lots to talk about, so we're going to hit the ground running. There's no point dilly-dallying, so let's get right to it. First and foremost, to all of you who share, thank you. All of you who share our posts, share some of our incredible content that is produced by you incredible people. Sean Forche, you are right up there, man. I tell you, you work very, very hard sharing all kinds of stuff. Bill's in the house. He does as well. Well, you all do. You all share. And we really appreciate when you do share it to your own personal page and some of the other pages that you enjoy frequenting. We certainly do love to see us spread all over social media. And, you know, it is a movement. It's a family. And hopefully we can make this grow and make it even bigger of a family than it already is. I can't believe we're around 14,000 or more following. It's just absolutely incredible. But again, it's because of you guys. So one thing I will say, though, the cook-off, I know everybody's busy. And I was talking to Stuart Brown this weekend. He's like, Scotty, we haven't had a single entry for the Bait to Go Outdoor Flavors CFN cook-off. And I said, well, you know what, Stuart? Probably because everybody has been cooped up for the last how many months? And now that the weather's nice, everybody wants to just get outside. Because I'll tell you one thing. What we are lacking in cook-off entries, we are gaining exponentially in CFN fish-off entries. Mike sent a total, and he's going to be on here shortly talking about it. How many entries we actually had, because there were a lot of unconfirmed and unverified entries as well. So holy smokes, 600 was the count that I heard last night when we unveiled this week's code. I think it's even more than that. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Mike. We're going to get to him real soon. But in the meantime, there's a contest going on courtesy of Jeanette. And she texted me on the weekend. She said, Scotty, I want to buy a Scotty pack of Bait to Go Outdoor Flavors, and this is going to be sent to a winner. And all you have to do to enter is take a well, I should ask Sean. Sean knows. All you have to do is take a selfie of your favorite flavor. That's it. Grab the phone, grab your favorite flavor, take a selfie, post it in the comments, and I will show you what you are looking for, because it is there. I don't have the overlay, but it's a video. It's real simple. Sean, show them where it is. If you've got the link, I'd really appreciate it. Just post up the link, but yeah, it's simple. And thanks to Jeanette for doing that, but we're going to be giving that away. So again, all you got to do is do a selfie. But I want to congratulate Sean Fortier as being the first to qualify. And I'll tell you, it just goes on and on there. The giveaways just don't stop. Of course, if you buy a hoodie or a jersey, if you have managed to do one or the other or both, first of all, we thank you. And we're going to thank you by raffling off an SLX. That's upside down. Let's try this again. An SLX combo, or sorry, rod. So we're going to pick a name. We're not exactly sure when we're going to do that, but we are going to thank all of you CFNers who have bought some swag and joined our family and like representing our colors. God love you. Anyway, Tourney Tuesday is going to be on Tuesday. TNT Thursdays is returning this Thursday. We decided to take last Thursday off, but we are returning in a big way. We have Chucky D from Bait and Bite Me, who basically is the reason this is all going on with the virtual trade show that he had wanted to put together. Josh Collins from Slaunch City Fish Company is going to be joining us as well. He's got himself a little package. And, of course, our good buddy Jamie David from True North Baits is also going to be with us and have a package. So there's three really cool people that I would say are fairly influential in the industry that are offering up a pretty good prize pack. All three of them. And I'll tell you, I can't wait to give it away, and I can't wait to see who wins it. But join us on Thursday, because we are actually going to be giving it away on Thursday. And all you have to do, as it always is, there is what you are looking for. That post that is pinned on the Facebook page at CFN, all you have to do is tag one, just one, tackle shop that you would like to see any one of these three products or all of these three products in. So your favorite tackle store, mom and pop shop, general store, what have you. You only got to tag one. We're going to put all your names on the wheel for Thursday. We're going to spin the wheel, and we're going to find out who wins this incredible prize pack from Slaunch City Fish Company, True North Baits, and Bait and Bite Me. Seemed pretty straightforward, pretty easy. We will, so make sure you join me. And as I said, it's very, very simple. So here we go through. Well, let's go through all three. Okay, first, the CFN cook-off. All you got to do is enter, and beer batter is the mix that we're using right now. Go to Cooking with CFN. You can post a picture. A video would be preferable, but at this point, based on what Stuart was telling me on the weekend, we'll take anything. So you can do that. A simple way, we're going to be doing this. Just take a selfie with your favorite spice. Real simple. Just hold up your thing, just like Sean did. And Sean will hopefully share you the link, the jersey and the hoodie and the rod. We're going to be giving that away. And then, of course, for Thursday, tag your favorite tackle store in the comments of that post right there for a chance to win an incredible prize pack. Well, we've hit the ground running. Let's not stop there. Let's bring in Mike real quick, and let's talk CFN Fish Off. Mike, let's see if I can get you in here. There you go. Can I click it? Clickety click. No, why can't I get down there to do that? Oh, there you go. All right, there's Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Good, Scotty. Thanks for all those who are watching, and thanks for all those who are either participating in the CFN Fish Off or just watching along for the ride. If you're part of the CFN Fish Off page, you see it just blows up every day. Entry from BC, entry from the Maritimes, entry from ice fishing in Nunavut. It is amazing to watch.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, the entries, Mike, I saw you were up at 2:30 this morning, probably going through and verifying a lot of the entries that had not been verified. What was the grand total for the first weekend of the CFN Fish Off?
Oh, I don't even know, because we're not even there yet. I know we're over 700 entries and we haven't verified everything yet. But what we're going to do is tomorrow is our first draw, our purchase family. So that's yellow perch, walleye, and sauger. So you can get a total of 3 ballots in tomorrow's draw. And you can win not 1, but 2 combos from Shimano, a symmetry combo. It's their brand new symmetry line, and you and your partner can win. So what we need you to do, if you are part of the CFN Fish Off, go to the website and click scoreboard, and then scroll down. Look at the walleye scoreboard. If you have a walleye, check. Make sure your name is there. If not, contact us. Just contact CFN Judge and let us know, hey, you're missing my walleye. Same with sauger, same with yellow perch. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take all those walleye names, all those sauger names, and all those perch names, put it on one raffle wheel, and then we're going to see which team wins those two combos. So you got to check. Got to check to make sure they're there. I'm pretty sure it's there. And if it's not there, the other place you can check if it's unverified. But we're going to make sure any walleye, sauger, or yellow perch will be verified before the draw.
That's awesome, Mike. Well, that is tomorrow at 7 o'clock, Tourney Tuesdays, right here. Same bad channel, as they say. So we will bid farewell to you, unless you have any last things that you wanted to mention before we let you go.
I just love that comment you put there. It's Douglas. I've never had so much fun. It is so fun. Instead of, going for the same species all the time, that's what we love about the CFN Fish Off. Is it's fun, it's competitive, you learn, you have a chance to win something for free. You can get the kids out to fish with you, bundle that all together in one little tournament. Well, it's not little, one big tournament, and it's a lot of fun. So thanks, everyone. Join us tomorrow for the draw. We also have another draw, which is our pre-tournament draw. So we'll do that tomorrow. And we also have to name who the first fish entry was. So we got a lot of prizes to give away tomorrow. So join us 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Right on, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, my friend, and all the hard work that you have been continuously doing, you and the judges. My hat goes off to all of you. It is a Herculean effort that you guys are performing. All
right. Ladies night. Can't wait. See you later.
Yeah, baby. All righty. You take care, my friend. All right. Ladies night is sponsored by these fantastic people over at Shimano. Well, Yvonne, it has been a month since we last saw you, and you look just as wonderful as you did the last time. You look like you're well rested. See that you've been out fishing, you've been out hunting, and from what I can see, you've been doing grandma duties as well.
Oh, yeah. I haven't been out fishing in over 2 weeks, at least. Yeah, 2 weeks. And hunting, I got a Jake on the opening day of turkey, and I didn't go back out because Tom hadn't shot a bird yet. And then right near the end of the season, he got a Tom. So I bought a second tag, but I didn't go back out.
Right on. And I have to ask, for someone who's I've never really eaten I've never ate wild turkey. Now, I know a lot of folks put sausage, like other pork and other meats in it to make goose sausage, but or that's goose. What am I saying? Turkey. What does it taste like? Tell us what it tastes like.
I find it's not much different. This is my taste. I don't think it's too much different than store-bought. I find that it's less like fibrous. Sometimes turkey can, and I don't know. I think it's a fresher taste. We pretty much like if it's a bigger bird, we'll pluck the whole bird and use it for like Easter or wait till Thanksgiving or whatever. But most of the time we're just breasting it out and then taking the legs, and we make like a turkey pot pie or stew or something out of the legs. Wow.
Well, I'm not sure who this is, but thank you for reminding me. You are 1 year older. Oh, you don't look at 18, so I wouldn't worry about that. We have lots of CFN folks here to make you feel good about yourself. Here's one right here. So anyway, we're here to build your confidence. But so you have a bunch of announcements that you want to bring up. So I'll let you get to that before we bring in our guest.
Okay. So as a lot of people already know, we're doing a fundraising campaign, and we're going to have, it looks like 8, like we have had such a tremendous response from the fishing community, from businesses in the industry. We thought we would have 5 draws. We've received enough donations to run 9, possibly 10 draws.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been great. And so we are at draw 3. I don't know if you have that graphic.
Yeah, right
there you go. So it's kind of a musky type package. So a couple of things, like we have a bump board from Handlebars. I can't remember, Handlebars Lures. We have a handmade, that trout pattern musky lure.
Yep.
And then we have a custom OWA bucktail from Footski Bucktails. Sorry, Thirsty Lures is the one who donated the trout pattern jointed lure there. We have a number, like we have a Casitas 150 HG, some stuff from X-Zone, the OFAH, and there's all sorts of little things in there.
That's
and
one prize pack? Wow.
Yeah, so it's worth $550.
Whew.
Every prize is going to be at least $500, and we have 2 sort of super draws. I don't know if I'll tell you what they are. The next one is draw 4 is a super draw, and then draw 8 will be a super draw. So we've had some really, really awesome prizes. And I will tell you, it's over $1,000 each time.
Holy smokes, that's fantastic.
So for this draw, there's only 12 keychains left. Bill's posted the link. So if you're interested, it's a $20 keychain, and then you get entered into a free draw for all these items.
Great idea. And as I said, that prize pack, that's well worth whatever the entry fee is to possibly win. And as you're saying, you possibly have 10 draws, including 2 super draws. Holy smokes.
Yeah, possibly. But
incredible.
That's good. Yeah.
Right on.
So thanks for everyone who has bought a keychain so far, or supported or donated or whatever. Like, it's the response has been tremendous.
Make sure you guys and gals, because it doesn't sound like there's many left, as you said, Yvonne.
12 for this draw.
Yeah. Okay, well, get on it. Get on it, folks. And
the draw is next Sunday.
Next Sunday. Fantastic. Well, there you go. Get on it, and hopefully you are the winner. Are you do you draw it on OWA? Where can people see the draw?
It will be on the OWA public page, and it's a Facebook Live video.
Fantastic.
And we just use that wheel of names like you do as well.
Fantastic. Your Master Angler program. Yeah.
So with things opening up a little bit, we have started actually as of last Friday, opened our Master Angler program again. So, I mean, we want people to still adhere to, the COVID rules that are out there. But people can, starting on Friday, submit Master Angler pictures and entries, and fingers crossed that we don't go backwards, because we're hearing so much now about this Delta variant, and I don't know. We've opened this up and shut it down at least twice now, so I'm really hoping we don't have to do it again.
I hope not either. And whether, as I said to everyone, whether you believe in it or aspire to it or agree with it, at the end of the day, it sounds like the vaccines are the only means that we're going to have a normal life. So my suggestion, and again, God strike me down if I'm wrong, but that's the only way we're going to have a normal life. Yeah. And the quicker you get it, the better off we're all going to be. But needless to say, you're right. And I'm hoping we don't go backwards, because I think all of us, including everybody who has suffered and lost their lives, they've had enough. They've seen enough. So let's move on. Absolutely. So great. Now on that, of course, is a great announcement about your bass tournament. And hopefully, fingers crossed, your 5th annual will be able to run this year.
Yes. So July 3rd to the 11th is National Fishing Week this year. As people may know already, it's a license-free opportunity for people who, maybe they haven't bought a fishing license yet. Maybe they've never tried fishing. Normally, during National Fishing Week, we hold an event that is geared towards new people in fishing. And so we're not doing in-person events right now, but we are going to have like a social distance bass tournament. I haven't got all the things written up yet, but I should be posting the link for that this week. It is a team event. At least one of the members must be an OWA member, and they have to have a female partner.
Wow.
But like I said, I've
got
like
a pro-am. This is a pro-am tournament?
Yeah, I guess. But it's an opportunity for an OWA member to bring out someone who is, maybe in their social circle or in their family, and get them introduced to fishing, or if they're kind of already involved, but they can learn some new techniques, and maybe they've never fished for bass before.
Well, there you go. And as I said, I think that's awesome that you get some ladies, very talented anglers, I might add, out with some folks from the general public, and get them on fish, because there's a lot of folks that are just they're starving for something to do, and you could tell this is what I see. Everybody is out, right? We've been cooped up for far too long, and everybody wants to get out and enjoy the outdoors. And I'll tell you, outside of tonight here in Ontario, it has been absolutely gorgeous. That weekend, this past weekend, did you happen to get out at all, or were you busy?
No, it was chores weekend, gardening and other things in the property. But we had planned to go out, and then we kind of hit a snag, and it just kind of took the whole day up. But
it's what happens. Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to mention, I've been trying to arrange for a volunteer from Lime, Ontario. The ticks are really, really bad. I don't think I've ever had one until this year, and I've taken about 6 or 7 off myself. Not embedded, just on my skin. And so we still have to confirm the arrangements, but it looks like Dr. Angela Lee, who is their medical consultant, and the vice president, Joanna Carroll. It's a nonprofit organization. So I'm hoping that we can have those 2 guests on to talk about Lyme disease, how to detect it if you've been bitten, how to prevent getting ticks on you, what to check for, and how to remove them.
And you're right. I want to say this year, at least from what we're seeing so far, is one of the worst. I mean, we've got these they're caterpillars now, but are turning into moths. But in terms of ticks, I think the first weekend we were kind of allowed to sort of go out and roam about. People were coming on social media, Facebook, what have you, telling about all the ticks that they were getting off themselves. Yeah. And of course, keep mindful of your 4-legged friends who are running around in that tall grass as well, because you bring them home, you're going to find out some way, somehow, that they're going to end up on you. And they're nothing to sneeze at, because Lyme disease is something that can be fatal. Yeah.
I was in the garden just a couple of days ago, and then I came in and I sat down at the computer, and I could feel something weird crawling on my back. So I just took it. It was a tick, and it was. I'm lucky I haven't been bitten yet, but if I've had at least 6 or 7, and some people post, they were out and had 20 of them in one day.
Yeah.
So it's bad this year.
Absolutely. Now, before we bring on our guest, any other announcements that you wanted to mention, bring up, or share with us?
I don't know where he is. Hang on. Can you hang on for like?
Absolutely, we can. Absolutely, we can. I think it's awesome, and it's great to see Yvonne so proud of her young grandson. But the young grandson's going to be coming on here. He's got a head like I do. He's got a sense of humor like I do. He's been smiling the whole time he came on, but it's really cool. We are going to see him momentarily. He was in the bath.
He just got out of the bath and he's getting dressed, but Jess will bring him in a second.
It's a family show. We can't have that kind of we can't have that. It's all good. Well, let's bring in our special guest, the one and only Adell Dolban. How you doing, Adell?
Hi, Adell.
Good. Hi, Scotty. Hi, Yvonne.
Hello. You might get interrupted in a second by a special guest, but
Yeah.
we'll go forward as he shows up.
Either your grandson or my kids, one of the two.
So you just got back from Camp McIntosh. And
Yes.
judging by some of the videos that you had, I have to commend you. That was the first time you have filleted a pike.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well done. That's all I could say. Well done. And I know you were saying, "Oh, it's taking too long." I could hear you in the video. That was fantastic. And you never have to rush that, especially with a sharp knife. You never want to rush. So you did a fantastic job. You got a lot of meat off that fish. Tell
I
us
did.
how good did it taste?
I don't know. We're gonna do it up in 2 weeks with some bait to go flavors.
Right on.
Nice.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the trip. Tell us a little bit about the camp and, of course, the hosts.
So I gotta tell you, it was so helpful to get a lot of background information from both you and Sarah about the trip. First of all, I attempted your honey holes that you pointed me out to, and but it was for the fish. It wasn't. I had nothing to do with it. But it was the scenery, the drive up, the little channel that Andre took us through. I had to keep my eyes open just so I didn't miss it, because that is not something I want to miss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, we got the star of the show here now, I'll tell you.
So
Hey,
I haven't seen my family, my kids and him in 7 months.
Oh,
Wow.
my
Right? I haven't seen
goodness.
it, yeah, I know. I haven't seen my mother since September, and I haven't seen my rest of my family for over a year. So this is the first time that
How
we've
old?
been able to see each other other than on video.
How old is he?
Okay,
7 months.
all right. That's your
7 months.
15 seconds of fame.
There you
No,
go.
there you go.
Well
I
worth
will-
it.
Hey, I will have to say that is the youngest viewer we have ever had here. Never had anybody
Yes, I'm
that
proud.
young. So he has, he set the bar very high for someone else. It's, 7
Thanks,
months. Jeez, I don't know. That's gonna be tough to beat.
In 2 years,
Uh,
I'll coach you, Scotty.
You had a few fish trips. Do you want to share any of those with us?
So I don't know what is going on, because I've never fished the French River before, and I didn't find out until after we got back what potential species there are there, other than, we caught a out of season smallmouth, and there's the walleye, and there's the muskie, and there's the pike. Found out that you can get huge channel cats, and there's also the potential for sturgeon. So in one bay, and I have a little snippet of a video that I didn't post. I don't know if I posted it, but Jessica had hooked onto something. We thought she'd hooked on the bottom. It was on one side of the boat, couldn't move it. And then for some reason, it's going around to the other side of the boat and it's pulling. We're like, but she's not doing anything. And then it's going that way while the boat's going this way. We don't know what it is. She couldn't budge it. We could not move it. We had braid. Like we had
Probably
some,
sturgeon.
I don't know what it was. Couldn't bring it up. Nothing. So Andre said it was either a huge channel or a sturgeon. Couldn't even get a look at it.
Wow.
So that was a little adrenaline pumping in itself. The one part that was most adrenaline pumping, unfortunately, we lost the footage on this simply because Jessica's phone accidentally is at the bottom of the lake.
God.
And I told her, I said, oh my gosh, so glad we got the video. I swear it's going to be on CFN. It's going to be on live. It's probably going to make TV. It was so great. We've got a pike on a chain, and it's in the water, which is what I usually did, not knowing it wasn't the smartest thing to do. But it's hanging over the side of the boat in the water, swimming a little bit. And then I look down, I'm like, there's something after my fish. And meanwhile, first thing I'm thinking of is all these pike videos come, and you can see bigger pike taking out smaller pike. Okay, I thought it was another pike. Jessica's freaking out. She's telling me it's a turtle.
Oh.
We went and we got the net, netted the turtle and the pike, The turtle's got chunks of the pike's gill in its mouth. It was no word of a lie. The shell was about 18 inches across.
No.
We netted it in my net, not the big net, but the smaller net I bought. And it just climbed its way out of the net and went plook, right back in the water. And we had footage of it. Honest to God, it's the truth. We made this happen. We had the footage of it. But I just could not believe it. It was massive. Massive.
So my last question before Yvonne asks you a plethora of personal questions. No, I'm kidding. When it comes to Camp McIntosh, 2 thumbs up? Yeah, baby.
I got to tell you, I asked Tracy. I was the first person up there with a cane.
Oh, okay.
And when Jessica and I went in, there was another couple of guys that entered the same time we did and left the same time we did. And so we were, joking with them for the weekend. It was great. I was offered any help that I needed, which honestly, a day in the boat, and I was tired. I think I slept for a day and a half when I came back. I was absolutely exhausted from the trip, rubber legs and all. But I had the cane for the rock because it was so unstable on the dock and everything else. Thankfully, we were able to have some meals out on the patio because patio season's opened with the lockdown. So that was nice. But yeah, it was amazing. And I do definitely want to go back.
Amen.
Next time, though, I'm going to need a fish finder, a depth finder. You need that.
And a bigger boat. Go ahead, Yvonne.
I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, I don't want to mess this up, accessible angling. How do you say it properly?
I say it accessible, so it's like a play on words. Because if you spell accessible, it's with an I.
Right.
But I want it to be able angling. And the idea came out a couple of years ago, I guess. Just simply because I was starting to get more into fishing, living in Ontario. But every time I would go fishing, I'd always have my family in the back of my mind. It's like, well, this is where I started type thing. Mm-hmm. And my dad and my oldest brother, like myself, would go fishing. I'd always have my family. Oh, what happened? I'm getting some feedback. They had MS and we would go out, we'd go fishing ever since I was 5 years old and always piked on the North Saskatchewan River. And that's basically where I started. But when their health, the disease started affecting my dad too much, then he had to be a bystander. And I vowed that I wasn't going to be a bystander. And if I could do anything about it, I didn't want other people to have the same experience that he did. Mm-hmm. So it's not, in short, it's not okay with me to know that if I can do something, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And as Jessica can attest to, she says, Adell, you would not offer help. You would not ask for help on that boat. If I had to struggle to get out of the boat and onto the dock, I was going to try it. That's just how I am. I'm really stubborn that way. But I believe that everyone deserves a chance to go fishing, mm-hmm. especially now with the FishOFF across Canada, social media, you name it. There's no reason that people with limited mobility or physical challenges or loss of their use of their legs or an arm need to be just waiting for life to pass them by. There's no reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever, and I know with COVID, everything has been put on hold, but have you ever had any kind of events in the past where like a pontoon is rented and several people can fish at the same time?
So I'm actually, because of things starting to move up, I'm actually taking a look at a couple of options now. Mm-hmm. Of potentially, if I can get a pontoon like fully sponsored, I'm going to be renting one where I can take the seats out mm-hmm. and get some people out on the boat. I'm particularly looking at Rice Lake simply because not that far. It's kind of central. It's in the Kawarthas, you know.
Mhm.
It's a really good multi-species lake.
Yes.
So that's what I'm looking at doing. Something where I can get at least 4 people on the boat, where we can have their attention fully divided, paid attention to what they're doing. I can't even speak today. I feel like I'm speaking Scotties or something. Sorry.
So you would be like renting a boat from a marine or a resort or something like that?
Yeah, or hopefully having once being sponsored for accessible angling. Hopefully, now that things are, I've got a lot on the go right now, but I'm hoping to get, you know, a couple of marinas, one kind of in the Kawarthas and one a little bit more in the Frontenac area.
Mm-hmm.
So a little east and a little west, just because I love that area too, like north of Kingston.
That's where I'm from.
That's where I live. Bob's Lake and Crow Lake. Oh
yeah,
Bob's Lake is beautiful.
Bob's Lake's great. We were there last year, and we're going again this later in the year, like August or so.
Yeah, I love that lake.
They have
Crow
everything
Lake, the clarity is just breathtaking.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. And then I'm expanding and getting more ideas on what to do with the apparel. GET fishing out in Peterborough. We're going to be, once lockdown's lifted and people are more going through, I'm going to be getting some stuff over there. And then once some things work out to my favor, I'm going to be revamping my website and getting that up and getting some more pictures taken of all the things I've got going on for the clothing and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's great. And we should mention too that Adell has put together a prize pack of items from her organization, and the total value is about $100.
Yeah, so I've got a few things here. I'm throwing in, because of the way these are meant for people. I wish I would have thought about this myself, but it's brilliant. I don't know if anybody's heard of these cookies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a couple of those, a pair of the original gloves. So whoever wins the prize pack just has to tell me their size. So they can either have a choice of the original blue, insulated, non-insulated carp gloves, or these thinner gloves that I was using during my fishing trip. They don't smell anymore because thankfully I washed them. But I love these. I just love these. And I'm getting a bunch of camel patterns. Different patterns made for my gloves now too. Mm-hmm. I've also got a couple of face masks because we're still going to be masking up no matter what's going on with this pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I'm also adding 6 new buff colors and patterns.
Oh wow!
Because I've had decal. But I'm changing the fish. As I should have done originally, the fish is going to become a northern pike in honor of my family.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Sorry, Scotty, it's not a walleye.
No, it's all good. And I just wanted to say I'm having a conversation in background here with Attila, who's very concerned about your friend who lost what he thought was a GoPro, but it was her phone, correct?
It was her phone. Yeah, it was her phone. So her phone went off just as she stepped off the boat to get to the dock. She didn't realize she had a hole. There's a hole in her shorts, her pants, and it went right through and to the end. It was only 5 feet at the dock, but it went down. And we believe once the boat was moving, we could actually see it, but it was glass side up. Had it been glass side down, could have hit with a magnet because the case is magnetized.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Somebody didn't want to go in the water?
Actually, Jessica, brave soul, she walked in. I don't know if you know, Scotty. So it's right from where you clean the fish and to the shack. That dock straight there at McIntosh, that's the one. And she walked in in that frigid water, she walked in and she's feeling around with her feet, trying to find it. And she's just chattering. So she made a truly diehard effort to
with
retrieve her
18-inch diameter snapping turtles.
Pardon?
With 18-inch diameter snapping turtles swimming around.
Yeah, and potentially a sturgeon.
She's a trooper.
She actually outfished me. This was Jessica's first fishing trip. Her pike was the longest, and all of the ones that we went in one bay, just I guess it would be to the right of the camp. There's a little bay behind the house, behind a cottage, and we were in there anchored, and we're pulling out pike 25 to 28 inches long.
Wow. Well, listen, I just want to say this, that Attila has stepped up and said that he would love to offer up. He has an extra voice command GoPro. So I suggest that you get in touch with Attila after the show, because he'll at least provide you something that you can get video content going forward before you get another phone. So
oh my gosh, that is amazing. Thank you.
That's our CFN community for you right there.
So generous. Nice.
That is amazing. Thank you so much.
Right up, right. You go ahead, Yvonne.
So I have to ask, is Jessica your daughter?
No, Jessica is actually my best friend.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, Serena is my daughter.
Times, and I was like, oh, maybe it's her child.
No, Serena's my daughter, and Serena is coming up with me to Horwood this year.
Oh, great.
Serena needs some big fish too. She needs to get us something bigger than a 20-inch carp. Does
your whole family fish?
So they do fish. Stefan, my 10-year-old son, he has ADHD, and his need for fishing would be if he drops the hook and picks one up, and drops the hook and picks one up, and drops the hook and picks one up. That's him. He doesn't want to wait.
Oh.
So, yeah, he's not a patient guy at all. But he'd rather eat it than fish than catch it.
Oh, as long as he eats it, that's good.
Oh, yeah, he does. He doesn't mind eating the fish. And you know, for the funniest thing, up until a year ago, he couldn't even stand me cleaning fish in front of him. He couldn't see a dead fish.
Yeah.
He could not see a dead fish. And then finally, when we were ice fishing, he actually watched Scott cleaning the pike that our friend had caught. He's just like looking at him and watching and learning and poking. You know, it's amazing how age changes kids.
I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, Yvonne. I'm not gonna lie. When I was a kid, I couldn't watch my dad fillet fish. I couldn't. So I feel for him. I totally do.
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't know if I did remember that either.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it.
No.
Oh yes, accessible angling. I was just curious. So is it kind of a education? Is part of the organization is educating others on the access that's needed by people with physical challenges?
No, it's actually about giving people with who are less than physically and otherwise able to have the opportunity to go fishing, to just give them that chance. It's about, because I know that a few months ago I had posted some docs, and for me the challenge in one idea I had is, okay, let's get a lot of these places with accessible docks, just like we have the accessible permits for parking. The problem is anybody ends up taking them, and then the person who really needs it can't access it.
Right.
So I wanted something that people can access. The original plan I had was to create a lift that could be attached or mounted to docks at all different resorts and cottages and lodges and stuff like that, and privately, kind of like a hospital Hoyer lift, where a person would sit in a basket and just turn and go down into the boat. So that's another option I have as well. So that I need an engineering student to help me with.
Very, very
sometimes you can sometimes, because universities and colleges always have looking for opportunities for placement students, so that might be an option. I know I had a placement student from St. Lawrence College helped me with some stuff for Ontario Women Anglers.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Mm,
Yeah, and not only that, but they also have their capstone projects.
right. Yeah.
You know, where they have to create
Mhm.
something. So that's an idea I was having too. So right now I'm looking at this year, you know, trying to get the boat. I've actually talked to a couple people about kind of sponsoring their boats to take us out.
Mhm.
So I'm working on that. But right now I kind of want to catch a few more fish in the fish off.
Mhm. That keeps you busy. Yes,
I need to
know.
get some points there.
I think you've created monsters, Scotty, fishing monsters.
Well, I'll tell you, it's humbling. You know, I've had a couple friends at work who don't necessarily follow everything I do, but they said, "Holy crap, Scotty!" They are friends with me on Facebook, and they couldn't wait to come to my office this morning and tell me, like, what is this fish off? Like, I don't. Can you explain this? And it is hard to explain to people exactly what it encompasses. But when you tell them that there's over 400 anglers, 200 plus teams, and we had 700 plus entries the first week of fishing, it opens their eyes, and really it is truly humbling. So you're right, Yvonne, and I apologize for all of it.
Yeah, don't bother, Scotty. Don't bother. You know, you are a big motivator for me to get out fishing for accessible angling. And I'm such a mush head though, because whenever I think of these things, I want to cry, because I'm just so grateful to have a community like this in Ontario, where I grew up in Saskatchewan. I didn't have access to it. So I'm forever grateful.
Well, as are we. It goes both ways, Adell, because as I said, we don't become the family that we are, the community that we represent, without good folks standing, you know, shoulder to shoulder with us. So, you know, you set the bar very high, and everybody is a mentor to everybody, and that's what I truly love. Nobody is any more important than the other. Everybody has, you know, an equal identity. Inclusion is what I'm truly about, and what you do with accessible angling is exactly I would say, the foundation to what CFN tries to aspire to. And I mentioned it last night when we were talking about the fish off with Mike. The minute we have to start charging for the fish off is the minute I'm 6 feet under in a pine box, because as long as I'm alive, the CFN fish off will forever be free to join for that reason.
And that's the other thing I would do with accessible angling out on a boat though too, is anyone who has a physical challenge, they're not going to pay. Honestly, as Scotty attested to one tackle box, I've got enough for 3 anglers, although I did lose 4 things. I've got a lot of tackle. You know, doesn't hurt to send me more once it gets up and running, but nobody's going to pay for the trip. When they come out on the boat, anyone who has the parking permit with the ministry does not need a fishing license.
Right.
If you are helping a person who has a disability or limited mobility, has the parking permit, got to stop using the word disabled, because we're totally able. I'm going to diss that word. We are totally able. But if you are helping someone, you don't need a license either. If you're going to fish, you do. But if you're helping a person,
Right.
if you're on the boat, you don't need a license either. So when this is going, that people are not going to they're not going to have to pay anything, because honestly, personal experience, things for us cost so much more when we have, you know, diseases and physical challenges, whether it be MS, or we're paralyzed, or we have lupus, or we have chronic fatigue syndrome, or we have an injury. I remember Bill, a couple of years ago during the fish off, his part of the fish off was last year. His whole season was wrecked because his back from Saskatchewan. And it was like, it's just, it's sad, but it happened. Life happens. But if there's anything like fishing, which is a stress reliever, it's calming, it's therapeutic. If that can help extend a person's life that much longer when they're struggling with something every dang day, they can get out once a month even, I want to help them do that.
So, and yes, and I agree, that's 100% needed in our communities. I just, a few weeks ago, I was cleaning out, it's not done yet, it's a big project, but cleaning up some of my fishing gear downstairs. And I have probably like half a bin, like a big bin of plastics I've never used. And I don't know if that something like that would be helpful in the programs that you run. And I could also like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. Because plastics, it doesn't matter what, like it doesn't matter what body of water, if it's a multi-species lake, you have to keep trying different baits and different tackle to see what the fish are going to hit that day.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, anything like that's helpful. So I will be more than happy to provide an address where anybody can send stuff to me. And in the meantime, just find me on Facebook or on Instagram and get a hold of me that way. If you have any questions?
That was my next question, how to get a hold of you.
Beat you to it.
I think
Right
that's
on, ladies. Well, we're approaching the hour time, so I will say, Yvonne, if you have any last questions, or if anybody in our audience has any questions for Adell or Yvonne, by all means, shoot.
Yvonne, how do we give away my prize pack?
So tomorrow morning, I set up on my website, I send a link out to Scotty, and I ask a question that, you know, the answer is either in this interview that we've done, or perhaps it's something about accessible angling that they'll have to go and look for the answer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have it with me. I was going to throw in, we have some new items with OWA. We have a tumbler for either hot or cold drinks. We have a sling bag now, and the keychains that you get for the draw, I'll throw one of those in. It's the only one I've gotten. I've given one away, and I'm giving this one away. So I'll throw something in there.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, as always, Yvonne, you do a fantastic job bringing some great people and some great guests who we've had the privilege of knowing already. But it's always nice to talk to Adell, because she does resemble a part of the industry that I think is gaining momentum. You're starting to see a lot of upstarts and grassroots folks that are understanding the need to make angling accessible. It's not necessarily passing on the passion to able anglers, but those who, you know, need a little bit of help. Because it's you know, as I said, it's all about inclusion and making sure everyone can be a part of it. But Adell, we thank you so much for joining us tonight and just doing what you do, being who you are, and representing the kind of person and people we love here at CFN.
Thank you so much. And thanks, Yvonne, for inviting me to tonight.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.
Right on. Take care, Adell.
We'll see you later, Scotty.
Absolutely. Well, Yvonne, again, thanks so much for doing this. And you will return again in July. Hopefully we'll be talking to the folks over at the Lyme disease or Lyme control, so we can get
Lyme, Ontario.
Lyme, Ontario, so we can get a little bit of 411 on how we can protect ourselves, because I think, folks, it's kind of important that we do, judging by the numbers, constantly increasing. You know, it started down in Southwest Ontario where they were running rampant, and now it's slowly but surely moving northward. So we better get a handle on how to protect ourselves, because Lyme disease is nothing to sneeze at. Right.
Okay, we will see you next month.
Right on, right on. Take care, Yvonne. Thanks so much. And again, watch for that giveaway tomorrow, courtesy of OWA. Peace. Okay. All right. Well, before we bring on the big man, let's go to our favorite video, yours and mine. Here it is. Here, the Zodius commercial. It gets your blood going, I'll tell you. Boom. Well, I totally understand. A lot of people that associate themselves with me have to wear a box, and I get it. Totally.
You have to guess who it is.
You know, is he a half decent angler? Yes, absolutely. How you doing?
He's been known to be.
Yeah, attaboy.
How are you, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Listen, weather's getting up there. You know, and yeah, what's not. So I have to ask you, did you watch the Classic on the weekend?
I watched a little bit of it, but I hate to say it, you know, with the Canadian guys not really having a chance being up there, I didn't watch as much as I should have. But you know, we still had some remarkable finishes in placements, you know, and I think they still brought home like you know, $35,000 between the three of them. So well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I'll be honest with you, Jim. When I was watching the last day, they had a weather issue and there was a weather delay. It was actually on mainstream TV, which I was really surprised at. It was on the channel 29 out our way, which I think is WUTV in Buffalo. So it was kind of cool to see it on there. And of course, they had all kinds of interviews and testimonials because they were trying to waste time because of the weather delay. But
waste time.
Well, I don't know, try and fill gaps, if you will, because they were trying to, you know, get out with the boats and the anglers. Anyway, they were basically
that rain was intense.
It was. It really
I talked
was.
to Gussie, and he told me he was sitting in the vehicle, and like with the wipers going, you still couldn't see. Like, so they definitely did the right thing by keeping them back for a while.
Absolutely. So they eventually, when they got them out. The gentleman, I believe his last name was Kennedy, was leading in the last day going in, and of course they were in with the camera boat parading around. And what came to mind as I'm watching all this is you've got Chris Johnson who's fishing already, you've got Buddy who's in third and fourth fishing already, and this guy's kind of doing laps with the camera boat. And I felt really bad for him because he's doing a fantastic job playing it up to the crowd, but it's that old metaphor. Win the game. So anyway, needless to say, I was a little taken back by that, and to find out that he didn't eventually win in the end, I was heartbroken for him.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, the guy that won, that's the second time he's won in a row, and it's really cool because, man, if you got you know, he hasn't won a lot of the big tournaments, but I'll tell you one thing, he's winning the right ones.
Yeah.
You know, like he's winning. I mean, how can you go wrong when you win the Bassmaster Classic? It's, you know, forget the $300,000 in cash that they give you is nothing compared to what you can reap, you know, like the benefits from it. Like if a person who was a real outgoing public person, like, you know, like myself, won something like that, the exposure would be like off the deep end. And there's been a few guys over the years that have won the Classics, and they're just sort of laid back, quiet, good old boys, you know. Yeah. And it's I really don't think that $600,000 a lot of money. I really don't think that they got what they could have got out of it, but it's just the way they are. It's what it is. You know, everybody can't be like that.
So I'll have to say, Bill, you know, you mentioned you were a bit disappointed with the coverage on the Canadian teams. I don't know. I have to say I was during the weather delay. I was impressed at, you know, the fact that Mercer was involved with a lot of the programming and promotional stuff. Chris Johnson, they actually spoke to and had a little interview with. I did not see when they finally got on the water, and it was in the last couple hours that they were starting to go boat to boat and filming the action. That might be what you're talking about, Bill, because as he says, Chris was in fifth place with a half hour left, so perhaps they weren't giving him his fair dues. I'm not really sure, but
yeah, I think it was the fact that you're 10 pounds back. But you know what? When you're fishing in those type of waters, when you get down south, 10 pounds is a cast.
Yeah,
and that's, you know, it's not like up here. I mean, if you're 10 pounds behind here, you need numerous fish in all reality. For down there, it could be you just throw a jig under a dock and pow, you got a 10 pounder, a 12 pounder, and it happens. You know, like big tournaments have been won literally, right at the end, you know, and that's why I always tell people fish right to the very end. In fact, in my life, in the tournaments that I have fished alone or with other people, 2 of the tournaments we've won because of me not willing to stop till the last split second, because I've caught fish twice, literally on the last cast, and good fish, yeah. And so that, you know, that's
like winning fish on, really,
yeah. Like you know, either you're going to finish second or third, and instead you finish first. You know, I had one in Midland where I caught a giant fish off the break wall, and Rocky and I had a great day. It was when the limit was still 6, but we had 5 really nice fish, and we had one that was like, we had to measure it like 3 times to make sure it was 12 inches, and we were in like 4th place after the first day. So I figured, we're probably not going to win. We're going to be short a couple of pounds, and then we go in, and he yells over to Gord from GM, who was in the check-in boat, you know, Team 12 or whatever we were. And I said, no, don't check us in, Gord. We're going to go fish the break wall. And I go throw a spinnerbait on the break wall and catch a 6-pound largemouth.
Mic drop.
So the guys got to watch us land a 6-pounder, have a hold of it in your hand, take the lure out. Rocky goes in the live well and takes out. Oh. No, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. It's what it is. It happened, you know. But
Wow.
it's what it is. And I had the same thing happen on the St. Lawrence down by Montreal when I won the boat there. It was the same thing. Yeah. I've had a guy, a CFN guy here, call me several times this week, and great guy. I have no problem. I don't know where I got my cell number. But I'm not really picky about it, but he's making good use of it. And he told me that he fished for 7 hours with one of my jigs and he didn't get a bite. And I told him, okay, did you do anything? Like, you know, what did you do? He said, well, I stuck with the jig because I heard that they work. So this is for you. What more can I say?
Yeah.
You always hear me talk about versatility. There's nothing wrong, you know. And I said, did anybody else in the boat catch fish with you? He said, no. And I said, well, you probably weren't near any fish. I mean, he said there was guys fishing with a jig head with a half a worm on it. Well, if you can't catch a fish on a real worm, dragging it on the bottom, there's probably no fish around. Like, they didn't catch perch, they didn't catch a rock bass, a pumpkin seed, you know, last year's walleye, whatever, you know. But it was funny. But he's a great guy. We've been having some great chats.
Well, the only thing
probably going to phone me at 11 o'clock tonight. Are you in bed yet?
Absolutely. And the only thing missing when you mention it like this is the thunder and the lightning and the clap of thunder behind you, like the Almighty has spoken, because it's so true. But I'm so glad that you mentioned that about you know, you're basically one fish, one cast away from taking that tournament. And I think the folks who ran that tournament when they were in the weather delay did a fantastic job showing the size and quality of fish that there are in that body of water. And you're right, it came down. It could have easily come down to the last cast if someone hooked an 8, 9, 10 pounder. Holy crap, man! What a difference that would have made.
I mean, look at the number of 6 to 8 pound fish that came out of there, and they had crappy days fishing because that weather came through on the first night, and it just changed everything.
Yeah,
like they had monster storms the first night, and the bite the next day just dwindled. Because when you look at the weights the first day to the second day, they just, the way the fish bit, it just went down, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I see Jason just mentioned about the shad spawn, and that got killed on the second day.
Yeah.
The storm that they had on the second morning, it just killed it. It was done. It was gone. It didn't happen. Plus, they got held late and things like that. So, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of guys thinking, well, you know, he wouldn't have won if it would have been for the storm. And, well, you know, shit happens. It's what it is.
Absolutely.
You put up with it, you know. You know, we won a tournament once where the motor wouldn't start and there was nobody there that could fix it. And it was, I forget what it was. It was wrong. It was something major though. When we eventually got to it, it was a long time ago. So we fished with the electric, and we caught 7 fish all day. And We weighed in 6, and one of them was 614, and one of them was 6'2".
Wow.
So you got 13 pounds of two fish. I mean, that was just luck. But you were forced to fish dead slow, and we agreed to fish every square inch of the ground. Like everything. We just fished everything we came to, cycled around through it. If something looked good, we'd go back and fish it. Go here, go there. And it was funny because we fished dead slow, and we just made the best of it, and we still and we won. And it's things like that. You see so many guys sitting at tournaments at the end of the day. One guy's driving a boat, the other guy's sitting in the boat like this. Well, why aren't you up, taking a few casts? And when we were so far out of the ballpark that we couldn't have won if we wanted to, I was still trying to catch the big fish to win $1,000 for the big fish, or the $2,500 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You just got to do stuff like that, and like you make your own. You make your own good things. Yeah, you have to work at it. Like the fish wasn't going to jump in the boat if you're sitting there. Although they've got film of that, it has happened. But they have a guy. They have a thing on YouTube with a guy sitting in the boat, and they've got 2 fish on a balance beam, and the guy's holding the balance beam, and it's like it's not moving. They're shaking the fish. One shakes, it goes down, comes up, goes down, stays down for a sec, back up, it comes, it stays straight. They're just sitting there. All of a sudden, you hear a thud behind him, and it's like a 2-pound largemouth lands on the boat. It was chasing bait. You could hear the water. If you heard like a whirring sound, that's when bait fish all scatter. And it jumped at them, and it landed in the boat. And it's all on camera, and they discuss keeping the fish. And the guy says, well, one guy says to the other guy, we have to throw it back in. We can't keep it because we didn't catch it. So they had the big ethical battle, and they put the fish back in.
Oh, well, it's kind of a no-brainer, I would think. But yeah, what are the chances of that happening?
See, you catch a fish, you foul hook a fish up here in a tournament, you're supposed to be putting it back in.
Yeah. And Jim, I have to ask you, like, we have the honor system during the fish off, of course, we stand by it because we have a community that has very few people that would go to the other side and do things that weren't considered ethical or legal. But how ethical are tournament anglers when it comes to the foul hooking? I've always wanted to ask you that.
I'm sure 99.999% of them are good with it. I'm sure about that, but it's like anything else, because you see guys every once in a while somebody gets dinged for something, and with cameras and stuff now, it's you're going to get caught if you do stuff like that. And I could never understand wanting to cheat to win. That's not in me, because when I was younger, I was competitive. Like I could be in front of the net playing hockey, and I could be laying flat in my back, and I was still swinging that stick around at the puck for all I was worth, hoping I'd whack it and go in the net. Yeah, they just said there's always someone trying to beat the system. Yeah. And when they catch guys in the States, they hang them out to dry. There's been a few guys caught up here. There's been people caught in like in other contests. You had your issue, but it's good to see that the groups police themselves, and they get and they I can see somebody. I really could see somebody trying to win $100,000 or something by cheating. Yeah, Steve just said money brings out the worst. It's what I was alluding to. But like just to be in a family fishing tournament, or there's all kinds of that on YouTube too. They've got like family members getting caught cheating in the family tournament with 10 members, 10 people fishing, and it shows them go to the dock, and they've got a cage with fish in it. They bring them out, whatever else.
Yeah.
So I heard when Adell was talking there earlier, I listened to a little bit of it. She talked about the snapping turtle trying to have a go at her pike. Whenever you catch fish, if you're going to keep them to eat, you should always dispatch them and put them in a cooler. People, you hear guys talk about they shoot a deer and they have to chase it, and then it's not that good to eat. That's why you don't want to chase them. Well, you let a pike or a walleye or a bass or anything flop around on a chain in that top 1.5 or 2 feet of hot water all day long, and then you bring it in. I mean, that fish is going to be stressed. The chemicals, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
what's in it. And it,
Amen.
plus in the cooler, they could get eaten until later.
So there's that. Getting back to your point, in today's age, obviously social media cheating is a big risk, but some are still willing to take that chance. It is crazy. During the weather delay, and I wanted you to talk on this because I wasn't old. I don't even think I was born at the time, but they were talking about Jimmy Houston, Roland Martin, and of course Bill Dance. And
that's really cool. I've done stuff with all those guys.
See, and I know that. So that's why I'm asking you, what was your take? Because they were talking about and alluding to how Bill Dance left the tournament trail almost too early. He retired a lot earlier than perhaps a lot of imagined. He was going to go long into, his later years still fishing tournaments. And he chose at a younger age to get out of it. What's your take on that?
Maybe he just got to the point where there was nothing more to prove. I think he won like 8 of the first 15 BSS tournaments, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but if you go look it up and you count them down right from the beginning, so he was a dominant angler. I mean, I fished with the guy, and he knows how to fish. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's you just see it, you just feel it. Like what you see in the TV show is not what he is. He's an absolute jokester. And, people think that's all stupid stuff that he does. I bet you half of it's planned because he's a wingnut. But he's just a great guy. A great, great guy.
And you're right, Tony. Yeah, he made millions on his blooper reels. And, some have argued that they're stage things and whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all entertaining regardless of how you put it together. But, watching him in some of the old footage, you can see Jimmy Houston was exactly that. He was just a card and probably a lot of fun. I know Roland Martin was very competitive, back in the day as well. But Bill Dance he looked all business. So when I look at some of these blooper reels, especially when I was watching some of the footage that they were presenting on the weekend, he just looked all business. He didn't look like that comic, that card, that guy that would get everybody to smile, at whatever event it was. He just looked like it was business. It's all serious business.
The last time I saw Bill was at ICAST in Houston years ago, and I'm walking down the hallway with a buddy of mine in one of the aisles, and he runs up behind me and jumps on my back. So he's got his legs around my waist and his arm around my neck, hanging on to me. And Bill's the same size as me.
Yeah,
he isn't as heavy and he isn't as good looking, but basically he's the same size.
Well, I'll tell you, we got to work on your confidence, Jim. I'll tell you, it's starting to show signs. David, you're right. Bill Dance made more on TV than he did on Tournament Trail. That's quite possible.
Oh yeah, the TV show. Yeah, the TV show. I mean, when they won money back then, it was nothing.
Who would have known that, Jim? Like this is what I'm saying. Like based on the fact that everyone was saying, well, he left a lot. He left a lot of money on the table because there could have been more tournaments that he could have potentially won, and they were surprised. And he wouldn't have known about the TV contracts and how that would all explode and look like in the future. So he was almost taking a bit of a gamble, stepping back. And as it turned
following his heart.
Yeah,
following his heart. He told me one day that he was sitting in a boat with Chad Spence's dad, Charles Spence, who started the Strike King Lure Company.
Yeah.
And he said to him, Charles said to Bill, I want to start a lure company. I got some investors. Why don't you come with me and we'll do it? And he said, no, I'm going to go sell cars and trucks. I can do that. Everybody knows who I am in Tennessee and the area and everything. I'm going to sell a ton of trucks, cars. It's going to be great. And that's why you still see, I'm sure what it is. I don't know this, so don't take it to the bank. But you'll notice on Bill Dance's show, it has the name of a dealership.
Yeah.
For his vehicles. I'm sure that's where he went to work, or maybe he owns it, or whatever. But and Charles went and formed the Strike King Lure Company, and then they ended up together. I mean, Bill, worked with the Strike King Lure Company for the longest time, and just really, really good, both really, really good people.
And that's
hard work. I mean, you have to go. That's the reason I often said when I fished in tournaments, there was nothing that I would be the first person at the boat launch, and I would come back, and all the boats were gone. they had all come and gone. Like the boat launch would be soaking wet up the road from them, all having pulled out at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was on the water when it got light. A lot of times I used to have to put the lights on the boat just to be sure, like I didn't run into a cop on the water or a game warden or something and get a ticket for not having lights. Like that's how early we'd be out. So it's it's dedication.
It is. And Steve, I'm so glad you put this comment. It would make me laugh every single time. And obviously we have the same sense of humor, because when you would watch Bill Dance Outdoors, you know, he'd always say, cast it out, reel it back. That's real important. I would sometimes sit there and like, does he think I'm that dumb?
First time I fished with him, he brought me to a place called Five Lakes. And it's where all those cypress trees are that he always fishes.
Yeah.
And obviously we had flown down, so we didn't have any stuff with us or anything. And he says to me, he looks at me, he goes, "Big deal, you get whatever you want out of there. You can use my rods and reels, and that's on that side." He says, "I saved this side. It's all the broken ones and stuff like that for guests." But he says, "You're special. You can fish out of my side." So I get out a rod. I look and I see a jig. So I'm in. I got a jig. I start fishing, and he's telling me when you cast it. I'd never fished cypress trees, so he's teaching me, and he says, "Throw it over by the tree. Make sure you got lots of line for it to sink." I said, "Just like fishing a milfoil." And he looks at me and goes, "I guess so," because he didn't know what you know what I mean. So cast it over, strip the line out quick, and to be sure that when you cast the lure up to an object and it lands beside it, if you close the bail right away, as the lure is sinking, it's doing this. It's coming back toward you. If you leave the bail open or the reel or strip out some line, it falls straight beside where you threw it because it's got the extra line to go down. It doesn't pendulum back toward you. And I'm doing it, and all of a sudden that line just jumps. You just see it jump in. I set the hook, and oh my God, I almost died. I was so embarrassed. I missed the fish. I didn't get it, eh? So he says, "Throw back in. He might hit it again." And he knows every stump. He knows every one of these trees where there's a piece bent out underneath. They have those big roots, the cypress roots. And he says, "Throw back in. That's a really good spot." And it was. I threw back in right away. The line jumped. I don't even think it sank halfway to the bottom. And I set the hook again. I brought it out. And I said, "Oh my God." And I went to fix the plastic, and I look at it and I go, I said, "Here's the problem." He goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "There's no hook on this jig." And he goes, "Oh, dang, that's the one I used to practice for the TV shows." Like he set me up. You know what I mean? And he's sitting back in the seat just, like that's the kind of guy he was. That's the guy. And then I jumped up in the boat and he goes, "You sit down, it's my boat." Like just an absolute character. Had a wondrous day with him. I've got those pictures of us, and I never forget that. And every time I see him, I haven't seen him for a long time, and we sort of drift apart as when you're not around people that happens. But man, oh man, he is a special human being. He's his heart. He's just in the right place.
Well, we have one that we talk to every Monday who is very similar. And has the same kind of vintage as our buddy Bill. But, Sean brought up a great point in regards to these three, Jimmy Houston and of course, what was going on with his wife. I believe she had a stroke, and it seems like she's turned the corner and for the better. So I'm hoping that her recovery is going to be one that we can all revel in. But strokes are serious and sometimes take lasting effects on the individual who has them. So we wish Jim Houston, his wife, and the entire family all the best. When
I saw that video, he did sitting in the car when it happened. Man, oh man, I had tears running down my cheeks just listening to it. I couldn't watch much of it. It was like 17 minutes, or I think it was. I watched like 3 minutes and I'm out. I just couldn't watch it anymore.
But you could just tell she was his rock.
Knowing the relationship between them.
Yeah. He was broken. You could just tell he was broken. And I'm like you, Jim. It was not an easy watch, I'll tell you. Before we let you go, any upcoming news, anything that's happening? Is the summer issue ready for Just Fishing?
Yeah, we're going to hold it about a week for a couple of things. We got some people that are really busy writing stuff. And so put it out in the first week of July, just a week late. It's no big deal. But we got some new stuff coming that will be released from Shimano very shortly. And we're going to have a new and it's going to be incredible. Plus, there's about 7 other things.
Holy smokes, you're busy.
And they got some, not so much on the new stuff, but stuff that they're going to be doing is pretty incredible.
Wow.
Like I'm jacked about it.
That's, well, when you get jacked, I get tingles. So I'm looking forward to whatever this is and the announcement that will follow in the coming weeks, days, months, what have you. As you know, Tillo, that's fantastic. You're absolutely right. They're all heroes, but heroes are people too. And you know, it was tough to see.
Yeah, that's very true when you watch them too, boy.
Yeah.
You know, there's I've seen a few people over the years that we fished with and that had wonderful relationships and families, and you know, someone dies and the whole thing just falls apart. And then you look at it and you go, wow, you know, that was the glue right there. They just lost the glue. You know,
yeah,
it's
100%.
It's not a good thing.
No,
but what it
Jim,
is.
as always, thanks so much for joining us as you do every Monday. It's a treat to walk down these long roads that some of us aren't even aware are there, and you take us back in history. You tell us about our heroes, our mentors, and you continue to be one of yourself, and we appreciate it. And you know, keep up the great work and just keep on keeping on, brother.
Hope everybody catches some bass this weekend. I already rigged a rod up to go down and dunk the tree here. My boat's still sitting at the marina, but
well, at least it's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, all the stuff's there. They just got to find someone that's good with a drill, and that ain't me.
Right on. Well, hopefully we see you out in the water on the weekend, Jim, at least holding a fish or two. And as I said, keep on being as classy, the individual that you are, and we're so happy that you're with us.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something later that I can't say here.
Okay.
And you're gonna be so excited, and then it'll be cool.
Look, well, wow. Okay. All right. The show's over, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, that's it. Buzz, everybody's out there.
Yeah. All right. Right on, Jim. We'll talk later.
Cool.
You take care, my friend. All the best. Beautiful gentlemen. We're so happy and lucky to have them. Let's bring on Lawrence. But before we do, here is a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
There's Lawrence. How you doing, Lawrence?
I just have to wipe a little spittle off my lip here from listening to that, man. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. That sounded so good.
It you know, it is, and we are we're I don't know, we're just darn lucky here at CFN to have them on our side and providing us with, you know, what is truly an exceptional product in the sense that there's no artificial flavors, there's no preservatives, very low salt content, and they are coming out with a gluten-free product as well. So they are speaking to a lot of individuals and people who may have preferences or the inabilities to eat certain things. So they are listening to our community, and they're providing an amazing product. So thanks for noticing. And one day, we might just have to get you some so that you can enjoy some for yourself.
Well, I've got this giant frying pan. It's called the Fire Disc. It holds 5 gallons, man. 5 gallons. It's an outdoor cooker, and I would cook this up. I'd put it on YouTube for you, man. I've done a bunch of YouTube videos with this Fire Disc cooker. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, we might just have to get you something, but I don't want to pull the cat out of the bag, but we have to do something to thank you, incredible guests, for coming on here each and every Monday. And you know what? How about a little political outdoor flavors to which you listen?
Oh, yeah. Man, yeah. I hear you.
We'll have to do that. Now, I have to get right to this because I couldn't believe this, but you messaged me about what you are going to be talking about, and there's a link that David Speaker has shared here. I'm going to let you do the talking because I'm going to fumble with this like there's no tomorrow, but there is one figure that is just, it's almost hard to imagine that we are spending that kind of money. And I would have to say that in a one-shot deal, or maybe it's over years, you're going to explain it to us. But to me, have we ever spent the equivalent of this money on anything to do with Canadian fisheries?
We've lost this kind of money, you know, when the fisheries have crapped out. Like you look at the cod fishery, right? When we didn't take care of it and it died and we lost that whole fishery on the East Coast, you know, and you think about the West Coast, which this money applies to, you know, that's a $1.1 billion annual public fishery. A $1.1 billion public fishery. That's the marine side. I'm not talking into the mountains and the rivers and the streams up there in the freshwater. I'm talking the stuff that hangs around in the saltwater, swims in and out of the rivers. But this is the stuff people catch, you know, along the ocean, along the coast. So now they're talking about $647 million over 5 years to do four main things to save Pacific salmon.
$647 million.
It's a lot of money.
Holy smokes, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's a
lot of money. That's a lot of money. And as I said, I know our American counterparts to ourselves. They spend a good chunk of money making sure that their fisheries are well maintained. And this isn't a dig at our Canadian brothers and sisters who are trying to do the same, because we are at a disadvantage. I mean, we have less people, less licenses, less money. But when you see this dollar figure thrown, $647 million to rebuild and maintain the Pacific Coast salmon, holy jumping.
You think of it, like the United States is 10 times as big as Canada. It would be like them spending $6.4 billion, right, on a project to save fish. I mean, here we are 1/10 the size of the United States, and we're willing to put that kind of cash on the table to save Pacific salmon. I think it's, you know, I think it's a good thing. I talked to some people about it. I said, so what do you think? So I wanted to get a few perspectives. So I reached out to a good friend of mine. He's the executive director of the Watershed Watch Salmon Society. This is an organization that tracks Pacific salmon. That's their lifeblood. What's going on with the Pacific salmon? They do all sorts of work to improve, you know, habitat, to improve knowledge, you know. And Aaron, I know Aaron Hill, the executive director, he's a big fisherman himself. His dad was a big fisherman. You know, he loves fishing, and this is important to him as well. But it's a conservation organization. So I said, so what are the conservation groups saying about this? And then I also wanted to find out what's the angling community saying about, what are the public fishers saying about this? You know, are they going to be, you know, they've had some 3 years of deficit, 3 years of not being able to catch fish, 3 years of being limited to catching no fish or one fish a day, you know, in a very few areas of the south coast of British Columbia. You know, they're on the verge of this whole public fishery collapsing on the West Coast. So I wanted to get those two opinions. I called up Tom Davis. He has a lot of history on different government committees with DFO, with the British Columbia government. Now he's a member of the Public Fishery Alliance. And I said, Tom, you know, you've been around the block, man. You've seen everything. You've been there. You've done it. What's this all about? What does this mean to you? So I got the two opinions, the two viewpoints, and there's a lot of skepticism they share.
Yeah, and I can imagine that. And the skepticism, obviously, as our Facebook user has just mentioned, and it's the obvious question. Let's be honest, it's the elephant in the room. Where are they getting this money? Well,
the money, if you think about it as an investment on the return, look, if that fishery dies, if that $1.1 billion annual marine public fishery collapses because they have to just put a stop to it for 10 years, you know, you think about all the income they're going to lose, all the tax revenue they're going to lose, all the Americans and the other people coming from around the world to try put a hand to this fishery. That's all going to be gone. All going to be gone. So, you know, it's like bailing out a car company, right? It's like bailing out General Motors, and you either watch their factory shut down or you put some money into it. And I'm not just talking, that's just the marine recreational public fishery. This is also about First Nations and their food, ceremonial, and subsistence fishery. This is also about commercial fishery. This is also about the ecosystem in general, because these fish go up into the mountains, they die, their bodies feed the whole ecosystem. They feed the deteriorating salmon, they feed the trees. That's all nutrients, fertilizer for the trees, for the salmon, for the bears. You know, it all depends on this returning high quality protein source coming out of the ocean, going back up into the rivers and feeding the nature. So there's a whole ecosystem here at risk as well. There's a lot at stake.
There is, and you know, again, these are difficult subjects to talk about when you're talking about car plants and you're talking about artificially stimulating economies and the ramifications of that. Because of course, who pays for it in the end? Who pays for it? At the end of the day, you know, when you talk about the skepticism of some of the people that you spoke to. Is part of that skepticism, because I'll tell you, like, again, I can't emphasize this enough, that like that's a really big number. And when it comes to fisheries, you know, whatever it is that we are talking about maintaining or resurrecting fisheries or restoring fisheries, I've never seen this figure thrown at any of it. Most times the skepticism of the anglers is, well, that's not enough. Come on, that's not, I mean, what is that going to do? 647 million. I don't know. Again, I don't necessarily know the scope of what has to be done when it comes to resurrecting our Pacific Coast salmon, but I'm thinking that this is going to do an awful lot.
Let's break it down, Scotty. Let's talk about what it means. There's 4 stools. There's 4 legs to this stool. So the first leg is conservation and stewardship. So that pretty much, they've identified 100 million of that $647 million is going to be spent on continuing to restore wetlands, to spawning habitat, to just creating the kind of, you know, the situation, the context that would at least allow salmon to successfully spawn, for the smolts to grow up and successfully become strong and to develop and to adapt to the marine ecosystem before they head off into the ocean, you know, unprepared. You know, there's a lot of that. This is kind of straightforward thinking. This is straightforward work. Just get the habitat back to where it needs to be, you know, restore the access to those wetlands. You know, even the Fraser River itself, there's so much flood control, antiquated flood control technology that shut access to the wetlands from the smolts. So the smolts come down the Fraser River. There's nowhere for them to stop. They shoot right into the ocean, totally unprepared, totally adapted to the salt water. They need to have a transition zone. That's what the wetlands are for. So this means, you know, money spent on regaining access to that wetland, so those smolts can get out of the Fraser River, get into that wetland, you know, build up their strength, build up their tolerance to the salt water before they enter the marine ecosystem. So they're good and strong and they can swim fast and avoid the pitfalls of being eaten by everything, right? And this is not just the Fraser, this is the Skeena, this is many, many rivers, much habitat. So that's $100 million right there. They call it conservation and stewardship. And yeah, no brainer. Everyone's pretty clear on what that means. The next one, the second leg of the stool, is hatcheries. And they're talking about 2 new hatcheries. There's hatcheries, there's private hatcheries that are organized and paid for by anglers. There's government funded hatcheries, but they're talking about 2 new hatcheries. And these 2 new hatcheries, they're thinking the buzz is what this could mean is these 2 hatcheries would specialize in taking salmon that are at risk, at danger, you know, at maybe steelhead, just fish that are almost at the point of disappearing, collecting those fish, taking their eggs, taking their spawn, putting it into the hatchery, you know, making sure they get a good number of fry that come out of there and putting them into the habitat where those fish were going to end up spawning. So to give it a bump, to rebuild wild fish stocks. This is not about, you know, creating more fish for commercial fishers, for public fishers. This is about rebuilding wild fish stocks with very, very precise scientific hatchery type investments. And that's a good thing. Like hatcheries can go two ways, Scotty, as you know. They can go to rebuilding wild fish stocks using those specific strains of DNA that come from that area, not mixing it in with weaker strains or strains that don't belong in that area. Or you can have a hatchery where you're saying, okay, we really want a fish that's going to grow fast, that's going to be easy to catch, and that's going to just support the commercial and public fishery and First Nations fishery with food. Like farming, you know, you grow it, you put it in the ocean, it grows up, you harvest it, right? Like a put and take fishery. You can have both kinds of fisheries. Some people say, well, no, if you put too many of those in there, it's going to gobble up all the food supply that the wild fish need. Well, you know what? I say, if there's that few wild fish right now, there's lots of food out there, because obviously nothing's out there eating it because the wild salmon have been depleted. So there's room. And no one, like the public fishery people, they're not saying they want to expand the amount of hatchery, put and take fish going into the ocean. They just want to, the ones that are going in now, they just want to make sure they're properly marked so they can selectively harvest them. So First Nations fishers can selectively harvest them and make sure the wild fish are being returned to go and spawn and rebuild their wild fish stocks. So that's hatcheries. That's the second leg of the stool.
Now, just before you go on to the third and possibly the fourth, you know, I'm not sure who you are. It says Facebook user, but I want to say you probably echo a sentiment that a lot of us have, and you're not being cynical. You're calling it what it is. But all this money comes from our taxes. Yeah, obviously it's going to come from that. It could definitely be worse things to spend it on. Yeah, we've seen that in the past, that our governments have a knack for spending money on stuff that perhaps we're not all in agreement with. But it would be good to know that the money is being used wisely and efficiently. So on that note, you know, it's probably a little early to pose a question, but is there going to be a governing body that's going to be overseeing this, that, you know, I want to say is going to police making sure that the money is used efficiently and effectively?
There's concern. This is where some of the skepticism comes in. This is like, are they going to be doing more research, more studies? Like we know we got the research. The studies have been done. We don't need more research. We don't need more studies. This isn't a let's go back and make more reports, another commission, right? That can gobble up big chunks of money like this. Or is it going to be about starting all over again and pretending nothing has come before and we know nothing and we all got to get it to the table and we have consultation after consultation after consultation and politicians show up and make big speeches and they're all going to save the world? Like for the first time, you know, the Lone Ranger is coming over the mountain on their big white horse and he's going to save the day, you know? There's people have the knowledge, people have the expertise. They've developed a lot of skills, a lot of experience already. They just need money to get the job done. They don't need bureaucrats turning it into a huge process where it's all about process and money, you know, meetings and flying people into meetings and hotels and restaurants and flying them out, and more people and politicians and stakeholders coming. Yeah, we have to have some stakeholder input, but what we need is stakeholder control, people at the local level controlling this, and not politicians here in Ottawa just turning this into, you know, a big PR event like a G7 where everyone just shows up and makes speeches and takes a lot of photographs and leaves, you know, huge money expenditures. It's process. People are saying don't spend it on process, all about process, and don't spend it on all research. We need rubber on the pavement.
Yeah, well, it's true, and as I said, it is. I don't want to say I'm skeptical. I'm concerned, because you know, when you start seeing dollar figures like that, you know, everybody's eyes widen and their hands go out a little bit further. So I'm just hoping that we're able to police it in such a way that the money gets to where it needs to get, and our fish are the direct beneficiaries, and those who enjoy the fishery are the beneficiaries. But go on to your next point. Hatcheries was number 3, I believe. What's number 2?
Number 2. Number 3 is harvest transformation. Harvest transformation. So you remember last Monday we talked a lot about the gill net fishery, that happens up and down the coast in the main rivers, the Fraser, the Skeena, the Port Alberni, the inlet, the Alberni Inlet, where you have these freeways of fish where they get funneled in from the ocean before they hit their specific watersheds. A real mix of every type of fish going up, and they're being intercepted with gill nets. Is this what this is about? Are we going to talk about, hey, let's get those gill nets out of the water? Because we know the incidental bycatch that's happening in gill net fisheries is causing all sorts of at-risk and endangered fish species to kill. They're being killed, and because that's what gill nets do. They harvest indiscriminately. So is that what we're talking about with harvest transformation? I think there's a lot to be said that what harvest transformation could mean, and I don't think we need to research this either. But I think we need some solutions, and I think we need to bring some people to the table and have some very hard conversations about how you've been doing it and how it's not working out so well, right? Yeah, you're making some money. Yeah, it's a good way to make money. Yeah, you've got some great technology there, nylon gill nets, a boat, some sonar, you're doing well, but it's not going to last. It's not sustainable. We need to do things differently. We need to do things sustainably. And that may mean, turning your back on some of that really high efficient, harvesting technologies like gill nets. And those are going to be difficult conversations, because that brings in a bunch of stakeholders to the table that need to be brought to the table.
I couldn't agree more. One of which I have to ask, and Attila, you asked it for me. How involved are the First Nations in this project?
They have to be involved. I mean, they're fishing. They've got their food ceremonial, as fisheries. They've got their moderate livelihood fisheries. We've got the commercial fisheries. We've got the public fisheries. You can't be pointing fingers, but we all need to be better at fishing sustainably. It's not the only problem. It's not the key problem. It's not the primary problem. I mean, the main problem is still habitat. That's still the main problem why the fishery is dying. Another main problem is hatcheries, not hatcheries, but aquaculture. Someone told me that the number of smolts killed by pesticides, lice, viruses, when they swim down the river and they pass by these aquaculture open pen kind of fish farming activity sites, the number of those smolts die is greater than all salmon harvested every year. It is greater. Sorry, Lawrence. When I asked the question, it wasn't intended to be anyway a finger pointing exercise. It was more understanding that everybody has some skin in the game, and when one stakeholder chooses not to participate, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if we don't have, because let's face it, there's a bit of this disconnect. Let's be upfront and honest about it. There's a disconnect between our First Nations community out there and the rest of the province. And I'm not here to divulge or decide or take sides or any of that, because I'm not a judge, I'm not a jury, and I certainly haven't walked an inch, let alone a mile in their shoes to know exactly where that disconnect happened. But when it comes to the fishery, we need to all be on board with what is being done. And we all have to have our opinions, our needs, and our wishes involved in the decision making. So when I say that, I'm hoping that our First Nations are involved. They're asked to be involved, because at the end of the day, we got to lay down our arms and stop pointing fingers and come up with some solutions. Common concerns, shared concerns. We're all talking about the same fish, and we're all talking about the same way of fishing them, right? This is, we're all using the same technologies out there. We're all learning how to use these technologies, sustainably. We're all learning that, okay, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And this is the first time all of us have had to make those types of decisions, right? I mean, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we never had these types of technologies. We harvested when we had the opportunity, and we did the best job we could to maximize those harvests. Now we, you know, when we do the best job we can to maximize our harvest, look what happens, right? And this is how we got where we are now. Not the whole reason, like I said, but it's part of the reason. We need to examine how we use these technologies for sure. That's a harvest transformation. It's going to be interesting. There's not a lot of detail on that third leg harvest transformation, but I'm hoping there'll be a lot of people at the table. And this could also include catch and release, right? Catch and release mortality. You know, because there is some mortality happening. There is science that's been done around catch and release mortality. So, you know, we're going to have to talk about that as well.
And we're going to be talking about it with Jay upcoming in regards to the catch and release, because there were some interesting figures that came about, and I'll let Jay expand on it. But it's exciting, actually. It's refreshing to hear some of the science that's being done and what they're finding when it comes to catch and release. But I have to ask you this, and perhaps maybe Jay is a better one to answer, but I'm going to ask you, you touched on it in regards to the forage base. And when you're in a landlocked system and you have a top predator that is dwindling in numbers because of overharvest or a whole bunch of other reasons, you then see that increase in the forage space, because let's be honest, if the top predator is disappearing from that landlocked body of water, it's a direct result. It's a no-brainer. Now, in an ocean setting, a vast ocean setting, when one top predator disappears, the forage base might increase. But my worry is that forage base is going to be recognized by yet another top predator. So my question to you is, there is a lot of reports coming that yellowfin tuna are starting to amass in great numbers off the West Coast. And actually tuna fishing is becoming very popular because, of course, anglers want a substitute to what they can't catch in salmon. But my question to you is, with that void, is the gap being bridged by the yellowfin tuna? And then when we go to add all these salmon, is there going to be enough food at that point?
There's a bunch of things going on here. So there's two answers to this question, and there's probably many more, but I'll give you two. First of all, this was explained to me by Art Geaton. He's been doing studies on sharks on the east coast of Canada for years, and he's one of the top leading experts, citizen science experts in Canada on shark ecosystems. And he's, you know, he'll say that if we take out 90% of the sharks out of the ecosystem like we have, and they stop predating on other fish, and then those fish, all of a sudden, their numbers expand like crazy. So now they're putting pressure on the food source below them. And now that food source below them all of a sudden expires because it can't sustain the pressure. So then that species above them, all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of them, and then they're gone because they ran out of food. It's like rabbits, right? Every 11 years, we have a rabbit die off, because it takes about that long for the rabbit population to build up, and then all of a sudden a winter comes along and there's nothing for all those rabbits to eat, and there's a major die-off, and then the cycle starts over again. So we see this in the ocean. When you take out an apex predator, it creates this sort of tumble effect of exploding populations that predate on the species below them, that disappears, and then that species below them disappears. So it's like you're taking out another apex predator, and then one species below them explodes, and then they predate on the species below them in the food chain, and that species disappears, and then the above species dies off because there's nothing left to eat, and the whole thing cascades down the ecosystem. It transforms the whole ecosystem. It transforms the entire ecosystem. And what do you end up with? You end up with an ocean that's totally out of balance. That becomes very acidic, very, we don't know half of it. We don't know the half of it. Now, the other half of your question about these yellow tuna, you see it on all the coasts. The toothy fish from the south are pushing north. Why? Because the water's warming. Their food, their habitat, it's all moving north. Everything is moving north. Well, I've been interviewing scientists from both sides of Canada's coast for 10 years on this question, and they've been tracking this happening. You look on the East Coast, the Arctic char and off Baffin Island used to just feed exclusively on on krill, like tiny shrimp. And that's why they have that beautiful pink flesh. Now there's this other bait fish that's moved in there, these little gray minnows, and they eat that. And it's less fattening, it's less healthy for them, but there's so much of it, that's all they eat. And same on the West Coast. The salmon are predating on all these fish that came from the South. Like these are fish that grow fast. These minnows grow fast. They don't grow fat. Like when you're in the North, when you're in the cold, you have to have a lot of fat to keep yourself alive. So the minnows are good and fat and rich in in oils because they need to keep alive in the cold water. Now, if the water warms up, you don't need all that fatty minnow. Then you got the little frisky little skinny minnows from the South moving in, the faster moving ones, right? That really do well in warm, fast moving water. And they bring along their friends, the yellow tuna and all the rest of them moving north. So you got that happening as well. Can we change that? Can we reverse that? That's climate change related stuff, man. We got no choice but to do something about that.
Wow. Well, extremely insightful. Any last points before we get to your Feel the Bite segment?
Integrated management is the last leg of that stool. And your guess is as good as mine on what that means.
Well, I think it's a work in progress. I mean, at the end of the day, I always say to folks, I don't know is an answer. And at least we're spending the kind of money that we're going to find out as close to, if not bang on, the answer that we need to move forward with and hopefully, correct this problem. But what they have cited as the concerns and what has had a direct result to why the fishery is where it is great. It's good insight. I think at the end of the day, half the issue is recognizing that there is a problem, and they've done that. So that's the first step anyway in fixing one. So we're on the right foot there. As I said, I wish them all the luck with it. I'm hoping that the correct powers and willing powers are involved and can cooperate because, as I said, that's an awful lot of money to waste and not get this right. We need to get this right. So, that's my take on it.
I agree. And that means getting everyone at the table. I think the integrated management thing is just getting everyone at the table, shifting the decision-making powers further down to the people that live or die by those decisions. I mean, we saw that document leak out of DFO where a lot of decisions, a lot of advice was created at the local level, fed up the food chain into Ottawa, up the hierarchy into ADM's offices. And they said, well, you know what? This seems politically inconvenient. We'll just switch this around a little bit, change the language here, change this recommendation to that recommendation, and voila, problem goes away. Well, the political problem goes away, but the real problem on the ground in the ocean doesn't go away at all because, nothing was done. Nothing was done. So this integrated management thing, we're all hoping there's going to be more sort of a devolution of the decision-making powers right down to the local level where people sit down and say, okay, this is the science. We all got to take a pause for the cause. We got this much, we can split up. The rest has to set free. Everyone's in agreement because look, we all have to either pull together or it's all going to fly apart. And that's what it's going to take.
Amen. Well, then, as I said, I challenge everybody who is involved in this, the stakeholders that are still going to find seats at the table, get it right. Because for the first time, I can say this. I don't know if others will agree with me, but this is the first time that I've actually seen a figure associated with fisheries management that is absolutely staggering. And you have the money and the backing financially to get it right. So let's do exactly that. Your Feel the Bite segment.
So what do you like to catch? You like to catch fish vertically or horizontally? Do you like to cast to them or do you like to jig them up? And why? What's the difference? And I've been talking to people about this for years. And just that simple decision about I don't want to fish deep. I want to fish shallow. I want to fish horizontal. I want to make long casts. Or I want to fish deep. I want to jig. I want to go down and catch them. I want to hover and locate them on the sonar. These types of that simple little preference is determining the do or die of many fishing lodges these days. Because if you've discovered that, hey, if I go to that fishing lodge on that lake at a certain time of year, it's going to be the best experience ever. If you go the rest of the time of the open season, it's a totally different experience. You're still catching the same fish, but the experience, right? The fight, the way to catch them is different. And people are getting very sophisticated with this. Rich people, people with money, smart people, people who do this type of fly-in type fishing, you know, where they're spending $3,000 to $5,000 a week for fishing trips, you know, per individual. When you're putting that kind of coin down, you do your homework. You do your homework. You don't just, you know, it's not just like you're going out for the weekend for a Saturday fish and, well, we'll see what happens. These people are doing their homework and they're listening and they're researching on the internet. They're looking at, you know, the catch records of what's going on at these lodges. So a season at a fishing lodge can all of a sudden, even though they're open for 2.5 months or 3 months or 3.5 months a year, can all of a sudden shrink down to 3 or 4 weeks. And where you have your prime customers and they're all competing for those time slots. And then when those time slots are booked out and in the shoulder on those time slots are booked out, the rest of the 2 or 3 months of that season are sitting empty. It's absolutely incredible. So I ask you, you know, do you really always need to be sight fishing, or is it okay to be jigging? You know, yeah, it's a different way of catching fish and it's going to be a different reaction. There's no doubt about it. When you're casting to a fish and you're pulling a fish towards you horizontally, they're pulling away from you. It's a much more vigorous fight because they can't go down. They have to escape by running away from you. When you're fishing deep and you're jigging those fish, their whole point is just to stay down. It's just to stay down, right? Yeah. They're not taking off in big long runs. They're just bulldogging it down there and saying, I'm not coming up. I'm staying down here. So it's a tug of war at that point. Two totally different feel type experiences. I say they're both valuable. And I say, you know what? Enjoy it, you know, mix it up. Don't get so focused on I got to do it this way or there's no way, because we're going to kill our businesses by doing that.
Amen, brother. Amen. Well, listen, thanks so much for bringing this incredible news that is definitely a work in progress. We're going to be witnesses to see what transpires, and hopefully we will have folks that are going to be molding the clay when it comes to resolution to what's going out on our West Coast. But as I said, I challenge all of you. Let's get this right. You've got the money to do it. Great segment there with Feel the Bite, because you're 100% right. That's well put. Anyway, Lawrence.
Thanks, Scotty.
Until next Monday, my friend.
Yeah.
I do just keep doing what you're doing. I love it. The information that we get from you is just, I don't know, it's riveting stuff.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity, Scotty. I always love talking to you, and I love hearing your feedback and the feedback of the CFN community. It's so important. It's so grounding. This is really, you know, this is people's lives and their livelihoods and who they are we're playing with here, right? It's not just numbers.
It's true. And that's why, as I said, I thank everybody who shares our live broadcast, because there is some revolutionary stuff that's discussed here. And I like you, I love the positive feedback, but the more we can get this message out, the voice only gets louder. So help us out with that, and share it to your page, other pages, and what have you. And hopefully we can be a molding aspect to whatever goes on in the future.
Thanks, Scotty.
Right on, buddy. You take care of yourself.
You too, my friend.
All right,
thanks,
dude.
Buddy. All right.
All righty. Now, before we bring on the beloved Jay BARNUCZ, who's been extremely busy, I might add, in our CFN Fish Off, here is a word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
I love that. To be honest with you, ideas can change the world, and they do on a regular basis. I can only imagine you sitting back there and listening to Lawrence and I talk about this tonight, I'm sure wanting your say and your ability to chime in. So I'm going to let you do that right now. Hello, by the way, Jason.
Hello, CFNers. Yeah, you know, man, I don't know. I'm listening to Lawrence talk, and you and Lawrence go back and forth, and I'm reading the comments and what people are saying, and you know, I'm not going to get into the economics of it. You know, there's a lot of poor choices that are made, good choices and bad choices that are made by government. I'm happy to see some of these issues being highlighted and getting addressed, how that should be addressed, how much that should cost. You know, that's something that's way above a lot of us, and we just hope that it's done properly. You know, one thing though, that some of the comments that I was reading here in the chat, you know, fisheries and ecosystems, and let's talk about ecosystems. Like, ecosystems are, it's a system in which all the organisms function together. And I saw a lot of comments about balance and things like that. Everything's in change. Everything's in flux. Everything's changing constantly. Like, there's never been the same Lake Simcoe. There's never been the same Rice Lake. Everything is constantly changing. The Pacific Ocean is constantly changing. We have to monitor those changes and adapt to those changes. Some of those changes are anthropogenic or human caused, and some of those changes just are happening because they change. I guess climate change is driven by anthropogenic or human forces, but these things are all happening at a certain rate. Like, I'll use Attila mentioned, like Lake Simcoe. You know, I know there's a lot of talk about Lake Simcoe, like the gobies have made the great smallmouth bass fishery. It's part of it, okay? Climate change has also played a part of it. The lake is warmer than it used to be. If they just had more to eat, that's not the same as having warmer water to have more active spawning, have more successful spawning, shorter winters, allowing bass to winter over and survive their first year of life so they can spawn in subsequent years. All these things play into it, and we never know. A good colleague of mine, Mark Ridgway, who's an M&R scientist, he's done some incredible work in Algonquin Park. He cut his teeth studying smallmouth bass in Lake Opiongo. He said to me, a few of us one time at a conference, he goes, you know, you might have heard the saying, Scotty, you know, this isn't rocket science. Rocket science is pretty easy, okay? Rocket science, we measure the fuel, we measure the angle, the trajectory, we measure the weight of the unit, how much energy we need to propel the unit through the air at a certain angle to get to a certain height of elevation up into the stratosphere. That's easy. Fish ecology, way harder than rocket science, always has been. And all we can do is keep developing new science and new techniques to study it better. But it's always changing. And we always have to try and understand that change and how it affects us. It's tough, though, really tough.
And you know, it's something that Attila asked before we came on, and I tagged you in that comment in regards to, you know, water levels. And we could talk about, you know, the science and the research, more so the research of what goes on with Ontario and Canada's fisheries. But you know, what's happening right now in front of our eyes is water levels are starting to drop. Water temperatures are starting to go up. And I, for one, I'm with Attila. I really want to know, because what's going to happen with our fish? Are they going to be able to adapt? What does the future look?
Okay. So let's look at this year and what's been happening, what's been in the news this year and what's going on. Water levels in the Great Lakes are down. They're not low. They're just down from what they were. They've been lower in some of the lakes, okay, historically, like, and I'll say in recent memory. So in the last 30 years, we've seen lower water on Georgian Bay. It's low, though. I know Bay of Quinte ramps are very low. Why do I think that is? Two things, probably. One, lack of snowfall this past winter. But two, the International Joint Commission has a hard time monitoring those water levels, right? When Lake Ontario was incredibly high, there was a lot of flooding going on downstream of Cornwall in Quebec, in Ottawa, and sort of that lower St. Lawrence River watershed. And so they had to adjust that. So they started to let water out of Moses Saunders Dam. Remember, the entire Great Lakes watershed is completely controlled by that dam. That dam controls everything. And in the end, all these things, you know, what they've done now is I think they might have let out too much water. They might have done that thinking they're going to have more of a snowpack and the water levels wouldn't have dropped as much, you know, and even with all the, you know, some of the world's best hydrologic engineers, they can't get it right. And I'm not faulting them. There's just so many variables at play and they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to manage shipping traffic.
Yeah.
They're trying to manage fish ecology. They're trying to manage all these other things happening. And it's next to impossible to get it all right because you help one thing, something else gets affected, right? And vice versa. It's really hard, Scotty. And even some of the best minds in the world don't get it right, and they try and they try. And so with the heat, though, let's talk about the heat. So there's been a couple of fish kills this spring that have kind of made the local news. I know at Pittock Reservoir, which is on the Upper Thames watershed in that Woodstock Ingersoll area, there was a carp kill. Now, what caused that? Okay, well, I'm not 100% sure. Was it a virus that was caused, you know, similar to the big carp kill that we had in the Kawarthas back in the mid-2000s, 2007, I think it was, 2006? Was it that? Maybe. The reports that I got were the fish were covered in a fungus or some sort of disease. But what happens, though, is that when water gets very warm and fish are spawning in the spring, and carp they're very gregarious when they spawn. They you know, we've all seen them splashing in large groups. They transfer disease to each other. They also go through a lot of stress. Fish spawning causes, you know this, Scotty, spawning causes significant stress to fish. They invest so much of their own energy. Why were they hatched? They were hatched to spawn and then eventually die. Maybe not the same year, of course, but you know, a big walleye, a big largemouth, big northern pike, they only feed and live so that they can breed. That's all they do. That's why they're not here to entertain us. We're happy they entertain us on occasion. In the end, they're all here to spawn. They put themselves through a lot of incredible stress. And when you get these perfect conditions of unseasonably warm weather, gatherings of fish, and that can promote disease, viruses or bacteria. And sometimes we don't know, like if those fish weren't collected and tested not even by the proper lab, they had to be collected and tested in the right time, if the specimens were preserved properly or not. And these things happen more often than we realize. We only are more aware of these things, I believe, because of social media. We're out there more. There's more of us out there fishing. There's more of us out there with our phones.
Yeah.
And so we're documenting these things. And, you know, when we get now, the other side of this, though, this unseasonably hot weather, it's doing some amazing things for some species. Like watching John White's videos this week on smallmouth bass on Lake Simcoe. Some of those bass nests already have swim up fry. And it's June 14th. That's great. So in 2 weeks, those bass are going to be maybe not long gone, but we'll have hit a stage where they could survive, you know, after season opens.
And I have to further that point because, as I said at the old honey hole, I was absolutely astounded to see fry as early as I did. A walleye fry. You don't usually see them that early, and I know they were just spawning, so they were incubating for no more than 12, 14 days tops. So it was a quick turnover. So I can only imagine what's going to be happening with the bass because the water's only warming up from here. David asks a great question. When you talk about major die-offs, and maybe it's an obvious answer, maybe it's not so obvious to all of us, but what do you suggest is the best thing we do if we do in fact see a big die-off?
First thing I would do is, depends on what area you're in, but the first thing I would do is I would contact probably the Ministry of Natural Resources, your local district office. I would also reach out to, if you're in a more urban area, your local conservation authority. And not that a conservation authority necessarily knows what to do with fish because fisheries management is not part of their mandate. But what I think is useful is that if they receive multiple reports of this happening, then it raises a flag, right? So, and unfortunately, in a good way, conservation authorities are the center point for environmental management in Southern Ontario. But outside of that, outside of the southern area, I would reach out to your district office for M&R, or regardless of what province you're in, reach out to your local agency staff. They usually have a central calling number or something. People do check the messages, call it and report it. No one's going to ask you to probably collect samples or tissues or anything like that. They might, but I doubt it, because fish die-offs happen pretty often. I say often, but I wouldn't say like all the time, but it does happen. It's part of nature's process. So David, in terms of 15 Mile Creek, if those fish get up there shallow water in the spring, they get banging around on the rocks and stuff, or there's a sudden drop in water level. I received a text message from a colleague from work. Now she's one of our admin assistants. She doesn't work with fish, doesn't understand fish very much. She was out walking the beaches of Lake Erie and saw all these dead gobies all over the beach, like all washed down. And I think what it was related to a sesh event. There was a sesh. You'll hear it called sesh. I believe it's sesh. But, in the Great Lakes, you get these massive sesh events. And if you have fish in isolated pools near the lake, and then you get a massive wind, it could be from the north, south, east, or west, doesn't matter. But if it will push the water out of that shallow water, it'll leave fish high and dry. I've seen that in wetlands in Long Point Bay and in backwaters of creeks along Rondo, where when you get a massive wind event, it will literally push water out of Long Point Bay, and in the backs of the wetlands will be high and dry, and fish die from that. We lose fish all the time. That's why fish breed so much. It's so important for fish to breed so that they can survive those events, because they've been surviving these types of events for, for us, where we are in southern Ontario, in fact, most of Canada, Scotty, since glacial times, 8,000 years ago. Like, we're just a pain in the neck sometimes to fish. Fish have had bigger problems than us.
Absolutely.
But we feel for them because they're our friends, because we like catching them, right?
Absolutely. We have a question, and it's a good one that Adell asks again. If you find an Asian carp that has deceased, is it DFO or M&R that you call?
First person I would call is the Invading Species Center at OFAH, because all the information that goes to them goes to M&R and DFO. They're very tightly linked together. Why I say the Invasive Species Center is in Ontario, they actively monitor that. Instead of having to dig up a district office number, call the Invading Species Center. I think OFAH still has an Invading Species hotline. That's who I would call right away if you think you've seen one. Even if it's deceased, it needs to be followed up. I've been involved in a few follow-ups of deceased, a couple of Asian carp in the past. I've received, like released aquarium fish, like, different types of tropical fish that have been released, and people worry about them. It turns into a bit of a goose chase, running around chasing these records. But Scotty, the Invading Species hotline is the best place to, if you have invading species tips to release. They're the best ones.
Fantastic. Jay,
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some fun stuff. And you and the fan family have been out with the CFN FishOFF, and pardon my French, but you have been freaking killing it. You guys have been doing really, really well, and a big hats off to all of you family members from the BARNUCZ family. But tell us a few fish tales. Tell us a few things that you've seen and experienced, and how it's so much fun to target species that you don't necessarily target on a daily basis.
Okay, so I'm going to give on the topic of family fishing and hot weather. Stay hydrated. I'm going to give all the CFNers a tip: stay hydrated. Stephanie was out with us last week one night, was helping us to catch some fish. Scotty, she has her CFN custom fishing rod. She won the SummerSlam last year. She's determined to catch an 8-inch fish in a species to help out her team. And she fished with us all evening, and then Mom even took her for an ice cream. We were in Port Rowan, which is right near Long Point. And then that night at midnight, she started vomiting, and she was sick most of the night.
Oh, no.
And at first, we thought it was the ice cream, but I'm like, listen, Twins Ice Cream Parlor in Port Rowan, if anyone hasn't been there, if you're ever coming down a Long Point, Twins Ice Cream Parlor, beautiful ice cream. Like, it is very wholesome ice cream. I'm not worried about the ice cream. We're pretty sure that Stephanie had heat exhaustion, right? I'm not going to say heat stroke. That's too far gone. She didn't drink enough water, and dude, it was hot last week. Hot. Like, Trevor and I fished last Saturday, last Sunday. We fished Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and it's hot, man. Like, so I have a jug of water that is, I think it's 5 liters of water, like a jug, and to not wake people up in the morning. So anglers out there, if you live with people in your house that are light sleepers, pack everything the night before. Like, put ice in the cooler, stick it in the garage. I don't like to go in the fridge at all. I like to try and just get up and leave. So I take my jug, I fill it by 5 liters, fill it full of ice, and then I just top it up with water. And then I have ice water for the entire next day. Plus we have extra water in the cooler. Like, and Trevor and I drank 5 liters of water on Saturday while we were fishing. That's 2.5 liters each.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
listen, it was hot this weekend.
It was hot and no wind, like zero wind. It was crazy hot. And now I have to tell you, so if any of you tried to catch a long-nosed gar, they are the most frustrating fish to catch. Now, I've caught them incidentally, Scotty, but I'm targeting them. Okay, I'm actually targeting them. So what we were doing was we were fishing, and this calm day, and you'd see the odd one swim by. And I'm using a technique that I'm sworn to secrecy. I'm not going to lie. I've been sworn to secrecy on this technique, and I can't tell you guys what it is. But what I was doing was I had this rod rigged up with this contraption that I'm using, and I see the gar swim past. I cast it out, and I'm retrieving it. And probably if I saw 10 gar, I would say I'd get 5 of them would leave. Okay, 5 of them would go. But then I'd get the other 5 to at least turn and look at it, and they'd follow this thing on the surface, okay, what I'm doing. And more often than not, they'd actually hit it, but trying to get them in the boat, that is 2/3 of the battle. These things, man, you get them on. It was like fighting, so we were fishing with the Raytrowskis the one day. Alicia said it was like watching Jay trying to land a sailfish beside the boat. These things are just in the air, like crazy, like beaks flying, like. And dude, I fished for gar for 8 hours of a 10.5-hour fishing day. I would not put the rod down, man. I'm like, I am. Never mind the fish off. I'm mad at these things now. I'm catching this thing. So it was. Yeah, I think the Raytrowskis really saw a dark side of me on Saturday. Like, I was determined to catch a gar, and I did, and it was a great gar. It was almost 36 inches long. Like, I'm very proud of that fish. Now, in saying this, we upgraded. We got 7 species over the weekend, and I want people to know out there, I was proud of my kid on the weekend. 4 of those species he caught without Dad's help. Like, I'm telling you, man, he was catching them. Like, the only thing I did was I caught a bigger white bass than him, but he was the first one to get a white bass in the boat. Like, he, I know he's only 13 years old, and I don't like pumping him up too much because I have to live with him. But the kid can catch him some days, and he is catching them on the weekend. And the Raytrowskis witnessed it firsthand. The kid can catch fish. It's pretty impressive, man. Like, he'll go from throwing like a swim bait, trying to catch a white bass upgrade, and then he'll see a rock bass by the boat. He picks up a drop shot rod with a worm on it, drops it down. He catches an 11-inch rock bass. Dude, 11-inch rock bass. Like, and then he sees, and then a little while later, oh, a big bluegill, 8.5-inch bluegill. Like crazy. Like, the kid was on fire this weekend, man. I was just passing him water. I'm like, dude, you just fish. But I had to catch the gar. Trevor let me. He goes, Dad, I want nothing to do with this gar anymore. He goes, He goes, this does not look fun to me. I want you to catch the gar. True story.
Yeah.
True story. He admits.
Hilarious. Well, Brandon Kodosky, he'll tell you all about it because last year during the Fish Off that you'll see on TV that is appearing on Sportsman Channel and WFN.
Yeah.
There is an outtake where he has got his gar in the net, and he's saying the phrase that pays, and he's describing what happened and how excited he is. And as he's walking towards the shore, he's just about to grab his tape, and out it goes, gone forever. So, yes.
And that's the thing. So we get the gar in the net, and Trevor. So I'll admit, dude, I'm a dad. Okay, I'll put my dad hat on sometimes. He's hooting and hollering. Like, if you've ever seen Mike Iaconelli in the Bassmasters Classic when he's holding a fish, he's on his knees going, "Never give up." Okay, this is Trevor catching most fish that he catches. Okay, everything that he catches is like the classic winning fish. But even when he nets people's fish, his reaction is the exact same way. So he scoops up this gar, but mind you, the net's still hanging over the side of the boat. He's got it up in the air. And I'm like, get that bleeping net in the boat, kid, because I'm worried about this gar. It's going to keep going right up and back in the lake. It was all good. But and I said to viewers last week, it's been great fishing the Fish Off because we've been fishing with friends. Like, I'm not going out with people to take advantage of their expertise or anything. It is a team effort. I'm loving dude, I've missed fishing with people. We fished with our friends at Revise on Sunday in their boat. Trevor's buddy Owen joined us last week for a couple nights, kayak fishing. Like, it's just been so good, Scotty, to get out and go fishing and see people that we haven't. Literally, I've not seen some of these people since last fall, right? So
yeah. And just before we unveiled the first code, I sent a video out to the judges, basically preparing them. Like, listen, I honestly believe there's going to be an onslaught of entries.
Yeah.
I just want to prepare you. I know your hearts are all in the right place. They worked so hard to make this a credible tournament, and they work tireless hours, and they do it for the love of what it is that the CFN Fish Off is. However, I was a little concerned, and obviously my concerns were validated because here we are in the first week, and we have well over 700 submissions, and that is definitely a CFN Fish Off first. So I knew it was coming. I just wanted to make sure my judges were prepared. And they've done amazing. Like Mike and the whole lot of them. Hats off to them. They've gotten some early tough decisions right. We're still working on a couple other decisions, but they're constantly in discussion. And as I said, like, I get texts from Mike at 3:00 in the morning. So when I say we're all in with this, we are. But it's testimonials like this right here, Jay, that is what keeps us going. As I said, a simple comment like Bill Landry. I think it was Bill Landry that said it. There's been a host of others. I've never been so excited going out and catching a sucker in my entire life. And I want to thank the CFN Fish Off.
Like, you can hear my kid yelling 3 counties over because he caught an 11-inch rock bass, because he knows what that means, because he's on the CFN Fish Off website studying the results. Like, Scotty, today. Okay, he had school today. He had 4 hours of break time. He spent the entire day rigging rods, planning our entire week of where we're going and what we're going to catch.
This is my morning routine. Okay. I wake up, I brush my teeth, eat, and then go on the CFN website and look what fish were caught.
And then he sends me text messages, and we have so we both have iPhones, Scotty. So we have a notes app that him and I share for the Fish Off, where we keep our notes of tackle and what our fish we've weighed in and the fish we're targeting. And I know when he's been in the app because he's updating, I get updates of information. Like, this kid's all in, man, all in. Like,
well, listen, and Trevor, to be honest with you, it's anglers like you that we built this for. It's the vision that Mike had when he first presented me the idea. I saw the future and what it could represent to a host of anglers, much like Trevor, much like Stephanie, much like yourself, Jay, and what it could potentially mean to you anglers. And as I said, you are confirming what we thought was a hit back 5 years ago, 6 years ago when we first started talking about it. But as I said, what has evolved into what it is now, I think truly in the beginning, only Mike really saw it. I was concerned. I had my concerns, but Mike really saw it. And I'm glad we followed through. And as always, we always push with both hands when we get behind something. So it's cool.
And we just need to be patient. Like, you know, listen, I've run events in my life too, and nothing on this magnitude. You have a great team though, Scotty. And, you know, hey, I can ID fish better than most people out there, but I let the judges do their job, right? Like, you know, I'm completely unbiased in this. And I know that in the past, you know, I'll get asked questions about certain species, my professional opinion, but you know, your judges are so professional. Dude, your Attorney Tuesday show with Dallas, how he, and again, I've run events. I've had to be the bad cop in events. How Dallas how he answered questions and addressed the questions that were asked and how he stated how things need to be. Great job, man. Like, yep. You guys have set the tone from the beginning, and you're doing an awesome job of it. I just can't say enough about how proud I am of the judges and how proud I am of all the people out there. Like, you know, I'm getting people commenting on our posts that are like, you know, they're kicking my butt right now. They're kicking our butts. And I'm like, thank you, but you're motivating us. Like, we're coming after you now. Like, it's so much fun. Like, I wish we weren't in a pandemic, because what I would be doing is I would probably be traveling around to like, you know, I want to go down to Windsor and I want to sit within shouting distance of Bouncy Bottoms and I want to do some heckling. I want to do that. I'm putting it out there. Like, and it would be a lot of fun, Scotty. Like, it would be just a blast. Right.
It's, you know what, it's you just hit the freaking nail, the metaphorical nail with the hammer right on the head. This was the hardest part about this year, obviously, with COVID, and what CFN is always about is, you know, community building, getting together at events. You know, let's do a fish off at Port Maitland. Where, you know, the fish off is running. We'll have 30 people that will show up. We'll do burgers and dogs, and we'll bring our CFN community together while competing for the CFN fish off. That's the aspect of the CFN fish off that's been missing. However, it has been shadowed by exactly what is going on with your family and several others. You know, Victoria and Macy are killing it out west, and you know, they're giving positive feedback to everybody out this way. Positive feedback's going like, dude, it's overshadowing the unfortunateness that we are having by not allowing our community to get together. And you guys, all of you participants, are doing exactly what you need to be doing, and I thank you for that. And as a biologist, as you are, and it is your forte, I myself have been pleasantly surprised and very appreciative of our community when it comes to fish handling. There has been some issues in the past, and I'll never forget one year I just said, Mike, make it stop. Just make it stop, because I can't watch this anymore. This year, I have to say, God is my witness, is one of the best years when it comes to fish handling, and that's all through education. So, Jay, thanks so much for helping pass the word along.
Scotty, I'm seeing pictures. Okay, so I can't comment on every video. I honestly try to like every video. Like, when I have a moment, I will flip through the CFN Fish Off group and I will look through the submissions. And I don't care how big their fish is, man. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing people holding fish in the net. All right. I'm seeing people screw up the video like a little bit, because they're worrying about the fish. They're trying to get the fish back. Like, and I'm so happy that the judges are being like lenient. I'm going to say lenient on some of the video submissions. Like, they're doing what they can. Like, and in the end, it's because the people who are not doing the video, it's 100% sometimes. It's because they're taking the fish's care first. They're putting it first. And I've seen it time and time again. I'm going to read a stat to you, Scotty, that I came across today. I wanted to share it. There was a review by M&R in Ontario, and they looked at 118 catch and release studies involving more than 120,000 fish and 30 different species. Okay, now I don't know where these studies were from. The average mortality rate was around 16%. Okay.
Wow.
Now that seems kind of high. But if you're catching 120,000 fish, and this is 16% post release. So it could be the fish was overstressed, could be the fish was predated upon. It could have been a result of the poor gear choice from the angler, like not using a circle hook or something, not having proper tools handy. I know exposure is a big deal, but 16% seems high. But I think, and we have room for improvement there. I'm really happy with those numbers. Like, there was another study that I read where in 2015, DFO surveyed Canada's 2.6 million anglers that year, and they caught 194 million fish. They released 66%. So there's room for improvement there, but like we're seeing catch and release is where we're going. Okay.
So, having said that, just take it one. Do you think at all that it will be the new norm? Catch and release will be the only aspect to angling, or like I see such a movement towards catch and release, and I think it's a wonderful thing. Not that I'm trying to deter people from eating fish by any means, but I just see people that are insatiably desired to release fish and want to ensure the health and the chances of that fish going on to reproduce for another year class.
I think that catch and release in the editorial article that I was reading today, and it's a long one, and those are some of the stats that I pulled from it. Those are stats I knew before, but the way the author summarized it was really good. And what's happening, Scotty, is that we're going away from fishing as a subsistence pastime to just feed ourselves. Yeah. It's more about it's becoming a true recreation. Okay, a recreational sport, or just a form of recreation, no different than going for a walk in the woods or going for a bike ride. It's a form of outdoor recreation that we can all enjoy, and we enjoy. And we don't want to get on the bad side of fishing because we don't want to encourage the antis. Okay, I'll stop there, but I don't want to encourage the antis. Yeah. Fishing does so many good things for people.
Amen.
I know people who have come from very dark places in their life, and fishing for them is their therapy. It is. It very much so. Like, to the point where, sometimes they say things that are like really. So there's things that I wouldn't say, but they've been through some pretty horrible things in their life that I've never had to experience. And fishing has brought them back from those places. We need fishing, man. And fishing, is if we get better at catch and release, which I believe we are getting better at catch and release. The CFN FishOFF is proving this. It's proving that people are listening. Like, I feel sometimes I'm just nagging people on this show all the time about fish care. But, to see it happening, and not just the usual viewers of this show, but to see the impact we're having to, like, some of the submissions I'm seeing, Scotty, these are people I don't interact with on Facebook. I don't know who they are. I know they're signed up for the FishOFF, but I'm seeing them taking care of their fish, and they're doing things. Maybe it's not because I recommended it, but maybe they've picked it up from somewhere that they're taking the fish care first. And I'm very proud of those anglers, and it just gets me, man. It just gets me big time.
Dude, you said it. That's a mic drop right there. That's exactly how I feel. And I wish I could showcase all of the videos, but I'm showcasing anglers that I've never met. I only know my name, right? The one that we did for Trout Tuesday, I watched this guy. He had the net in the sand, and it was only a 9.5-inch brook trout or speckled trout, whatever it was that he caught. But the care that he took with that fish, and then put it back in the net, and then he said his piece. And I'm thinking, I've never met this man. And I forget. I think his name is Gary. I was just so taken back, just like you explained, the care that this gentleman took for the fish. I watched another one. Again, the name, I'm terrible with names, and I apologize, but he had what looked to be like an oversized blanket in the canoe that he was measuring the walleye, and the blanket is soaked with water, and he's measuring he's making sure he's getting it accurate, right?
Yeah.
And he releases the walleye. Like holy smokes, man. Love it.
And I think too that everyone's learning, so for example, you're on the shore and you're excited to be there. You're like, I got to catch a fish. Then you catch your first one, and they're like, okay, I got him on. Okay, where's the net? Oh crap, I left it over there. Where's the pliers? They're over this bag over here. And what people are doing is they're getting more organized. Even Trevor and I getting out together, the first fish or two, a little rough. Not gonna lie, wasn't happy with how we handled it. We weren't prepared, and the fish were fine, but we're getting much more organized in how we measure our fish and how we do our videos and all that. And I think everyone's going through that experience. And dude, it's awesome. And again, like you just said, I can't pick any highlights. There's so many good ones out there. I'm just so happy to see people out there fishing. And let's just hope that in the background, I say in the background because I don't want it to be in the foreground anymore. In the background, cases are going down. We're opening up. Let's just hope those numbers trend downwards, but let's keep that in the background. Let's keep fishing in the foreground. Let's be smart. Let's not take unnecessary stops in places. Let's still keep using our mass in places. And even for this fish off, we aren't stopping a lot for meals. We're bringing food with us. We're trying to be self-sufficient, because every time we stop, Scotty, we lose fishing time. Okay. Yeah. So I want to bring food with us and water with us, because when we're out there, we fished for 20 hours over 2 days. So, and I'm only not fishing tonight because I'm doing the show with you, which I love doing, by the way. Otherwise, we'd be out tonight fishing. I know the coach over here would have me out doing laps tonight if I was not with you right now.
Hopefully he's not going to make me do there and backs or burpees because I've got you.
Yeah, that's great. No burpees.
But needless to say, you guys have been doing a fantastic job. All of our CFNers have continued to inspire us to continue on with the fish off. We had never had any interest in not pursuing it, but when we see this kind of week, this kind of feedback, this kind of participation, care for the fish, all I can say is it instills our belief and our passion for what it is that we're doing. So again, to our community, keep up the great work, and to the BARNUCZ family, you make us proud.
Yeah, we got big plans this week. You know what? The weather looks terrible this week for getting on the lake. So this week we're getting back to our river and stream routes that we haven't been on for a couple weeks now. So we're going to get back to some river and stream fishing. I need some suckers, man. I need some species, Scotty, that I could usually catch at will any other time. But in the fish off, I can't yet. In the fish off, species I didn't think I'd catch, I'd have to work harder for, I caught right away. So there's this whole weird karma going on. So anyways, we got our list. We're going to make it happen. And we're going to get the family involved. There's talk of carp fishing on Father's Day even. Does that even who can say that? I'm not even a carp angler, but the family has made plans of going carp fishing because we need a carp.
I haven't.
Oh, so you haven't said that, Stephanie?
No, I don't want to.
Oh, so Stephanie doesn't want to go carp fishing. So but
Suck it up, Stephanie.
apparently, according to Heather and Trevor, we're going carp fishing for Father's Day. So
that's hilarious.
Can't complain. So, and listen, on that note, I'm going to sign off. happy Father's Day to
Amen.
you and all the rest of the dads. Go fishing this week. Get out there and share your adventures in the Fish Off group. If you're not, even if you don't have a fish to enter, let's see the dads getting out there fishing with everyone this week. Okay.
Amen, brother. Thanks for all you do. And to Stephanie and Trevor, good luck. Take care, old dad, would you?
Love you guys. See ya.
All right.
Say bye,
care.
guys.
Bye. Another great segment, another great show. Great people who are watching. Thanks, everybody who stuck around to the very end and for all the sharing. As I said, getting the message out there because it is definitely being heard. You can see it with the quality of catch and releases that are being done for the Fish Off, as well as a general belief that what is happening here is the right thing and it's the model to follow. And it's because of all of you. I can't emphasize it enough. Anyway, have yourself a great night. We'll see you tomorrow with Mike and Tourney Tuesday. We're going to be doing our first Shimano random giveaway for the first week. I know Mike is feverishly putting all the names on a wheel as we speak to make sure that we're ready for tomorrow. Thursday, as I mentioned, is going to be a return to T&T Thursdays. We have got quite a lineup with True North Baits. We've also got the Slaunch Fish Company. So we're excited about that. And of course, Chucky D is coming from Bait and Bite Me with a prize pack. And it's going to be quite a prize pack. So I will very much look forward to seeing you on Thursday because we're going to be giving it away Thursday. In the meantime, make sure you do your selfie. Make sure you, if you have the ability to buy a jersey hoodie, make sure you do so we can give you a chance to win an SLX multi-species spin cast rod. And last but not least, on the pin post, tag a tackle store, just one tackle store, and that will qualify you for a chance to win Thursday's prize. Until tomorrow, take care, guys. Enjoy your day. Be safe. Love you all. Keep up the great work. It's amazing, man. It's amazing. All the best, guys. Take care. Peace.